Good afternoon, everybody. Dear colleague, before we resume our session, I would like to remind you that observer delegations should refrain from interfering with the work of the committee during the debate or the vote procedure. I will not accept to see again what we witnessed this morning, please. Thank you. Furthermore, colleague, I would like to recall that we have still examined 11 nominations and that we need to finish with this item tomorrow morning. I call upon your cooperation to respect the time limit of speech unless we will not be able to finish our work. Thank you very much. So now we'll continue the item of site in Turkey. And now we have in front of us,
Indonesia.
Yes, 10 requests for speak, and I give the first the first speaker will be from Indonesia. Indonesia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Indonesia would like to comment on the thorough and detailed work demonstrated by ICOMOS and the State Party that has been clearly reflected in the nomination dossier. We share the view that the criteria under which the property is nominated, which are criteria 1, 2, 4, have all been stated as justified. We note with concern that in addition to these positive recommendations, ICOMOS has also stated the property is highly vulnerable due to several factors such as future development projects, the increase of tourism, and the limited nature of the documentation in the buffer zone and management zone. Those factors have been foreseen as potential threats to the aspects of integrity and authenticity of the property. In this regard, we share the concern of ICOMOS that the State Party should take serious concern about the possible threats that may affect the property. However, we are also of the view that the property should not be inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger due to those factors. We would recommend instead that the State Party designs a comprehensive plan to conserve the OUV, integrity, and authenticity of the property based on the ICOMOS recommendations. We note that this has been reflected in the amendment of the draft decisions. We support the recommendation to inscribe the property on the list of World Heritage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, we welcome the advisory body, ICOMOS recommendation that Gobekli Tepe be inscribed on the World Heritage List. It is a unique site which represents the most momentous transition in human history from the way of the life of hunter-gatherers substantial to that of the first farmers. However, we would like to express our concerns regarding the ICOMOS recommendation that the property is simultaneously inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger. After examination of both the issues raised by ICOMOS in its final evaluation report and the additional information and relevant documents provided by State Party, we are convinced that none of the issues raised by ICOMOS is a justification for the property to be inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger. The advisory body proposal for simultaneous inscription on the list of World Heritage in danger is based mainly on the observation of potential threats to the property by future infrastructural projects and possible pressures from likely increase in cultural tourism use. However, at the moment of inscription, factual evidence of such threats to the authenticity and integrity of the property are inexistent. The issues raised by Comus in its evaluation report, such as first, future infrastructure projects, the railway line project which will be implemented outside the management area is not even currently at the project phase. State party confirms that a heritage impact assessment will be undertaken before the implementation of the project. The second effect, potential future increases in tourism. The site has been opened to visitation at the beginning of June 2018 after a 2-year closure. The preparation of the visitor management plan is in the initial phase of defining the nature of heritage tourism impacts and carrying capacity. After carrying out of the baseline survey visitor management plan, plan will be prepared in a year. At present, capacity remains considerably under roost. The last reassessment of the degree of statutory designation of the buffer zone. It is stated by the state party that buffer zone, which is designed as a third-degree archaeological conservation site by Regional Conservation Council, can be reassessed based on the field research in the following years. The German Archaeological Institute will undertake a recording of the entire buffer zone in its next funding phase of the Gobekli Tepe research project. The state party is willing to follow the advisory body's recommendation, especially on the site management issues. This includes preparation of tourism and risk management plans and an expansion of the conservation planning and archaeological research to the buffer zone of the property in view of upgrading the legal protection measures wherever necessary. In view of the above, Gobekli Tepe does not meet the requirement in danger listings that are defined in paragraph 177 of the operational guidelines. The nominated property Gobekli Tepe meets integrity and authenticity, outstanding universal value, and should be inscribed into the World Heritage List under the criterion 1, 2, and 4. And we do not see any reason to inscribe the property into the World Heritage List in danger. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The nominated site, Gobekli Tepe, represents one of the earliest masterpieces of the human creative genius. The built structure with carved stone pillars in T-form is from the 10th and 9th millennium BC in the pre-pottery Neolithic age. The outstanding qualities of the property nominated in the World Heritage List have been acknowledged by the advisory panel and recommended for inscription. The questions raised during the evaluation process have been answered satisfactorily by the state party regarding the boundaries, the conservation, the handling of the possible impact of tourism. Hungary feels confident that these questions were answered adequately, therefore supports the amendment of Brazil not to place the property in the list of the World Heritage Sites in danger because of some potential threats in the future. Parallel with its inscription on the list, but to take into considerations of the advisory bodies and a dialogue and monitoring the site in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Zimbabwe congratulates Turkey for the successful nomination of the Gobekli Tepe monument, which is under criteria 1, 2, and 4, which we believe this site is a major architectural as well as archaeological site, which shows the genius of the pre-pottery Neolithic societies. To save time, Madam Chair, I would like to state that we have confidence that the state party has put in place and will put in place, because of the different partnerships that it has put in motion, the protective as well as the necessary management areas to mitigate against the possible threats. We therefore fully endorse the amended draft decision by Brazil.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, United Republic of Tanzania commends the State Party of Turkey for presenting this fascinating nomination and thanks the advisory body for a comprehensive report of the same. Madam Chair, the State Party acknowledged the presence of construction building material for irrigation channel 5 kilometers from Gobekli Tepe, which will be removed once the construction is completed. Hence, the worries of the visual integrity of the site will be addressed. Madam Chair, Gobekli Tepe is proposed for to be inscribed under the basis of cultural criteria 1, 2, and 3, and 4. From the 4 criteria, ICOMOS consider that the property meets 3 criteria, 1, 2, and 4. The delegation of Tanzania notes that ICOMOS is concerned with the development pressure and urban development around the property. It, however, acknowledged that the Space Party has already taken some concrete measure by preparing a comprehensive management plan for larger management zone which compass the nomination property and the buffer zone. Tanzania congratulates the State Party for taking this measure that will address challenges of the property as well as concern raised by the ICOMOS. It's for that reason Tanzania proposed that Gobekli Tepe be inscribed in the World Heritage List. Madam Chair, Tanzania supports the amendment proposed by distinguished delegation of Brazil and Australia and does not need to be inscribed the property in the World Heritage List in danger now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Burkina Faso, you have the floor. No, thank you very much. Bosnia, please, you have the floor.
Bosnia and Herzegovina support the proposal to inscribe this site in World Heritage List and not to inscribe it to the list of the dangers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je souhaite remercier l'État partie de nous offrir cette très belle opportunité de parler d'un site qui est irradiant de valeurs universelles exceptionnelles. La communauté officielle et scientifique de mon pays, depuis la découverte de ce site, le suit avec beaucoup d'intérêt. Nous croyons que non seulement le département culture de l'UNESCO est interpellé par ce site, mais aussi le département sciences, tant cette découverte remet sur la table de l'anthropologie moderne et des sciences liées à la compréhension du début de nos sociétés humaines et interpellé par cette découverte. Nous félicitons l'État partie pour la Tunisie qui abrite le plus ancien lieu de culte de l'humanité qui remonte à 40 000 ans avant Jésus-Christ, et je parle d'Hermaillon d'El-Ktar. Nous sommes très heureux de ce dialogue entre les sites à travers la Méditerranée. Nous félicitons l'État partie d'avoir présenté un si beau dossier et bien entendu, nous rejoignons le Brésil dans la demande de ne pas l'inscrire sur la liste en péril.
Thank you very much. Kyrgyzstan, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To save the time, we will just say that we join to the amendment proposed by Brazil for not inscription of Gobekli Tepe on the World Heritage List in danger.
Thank you very much. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, to save time, we simply wish to express, to join our Brazilian colleague in their amendment to the resolution. And we also wish to express our congratulations to the State Party of Turkey for this magnificent inscription. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Norway will warmly welcome the inscription of Gobekli Tepe under criteria 1, 2, and 4. The site is outstanding and very important to mankind. Norway are concerned about the possible impacts on the property from development in infrastructure and tourism. but we are not convinced that it is really necessary to inscribe the property at a list of World Heritage in danger at this meeting. Inscription on the danger list should rather be considered when the committee examines the report from the state party on the implementation of the recommendations that we, the committee, decides today. We therefore support the amendment put forward by Brazil, which includes several important recommendations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. St. Kitts, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. St. Kitts and Nevis commends the State Party of Turkey on a well-developed nomination. We recognize the value of this site in the monuments present and the archaeological evidence exposed that show the domestic dwellings of the hunter-gatherers of the pre-pottery Neolithic period. St. Kitts and Nevis further recognizes the concern expressed by ICOMOS, but as has been stated by others, we believe it is premature to place the property on the World Heritage List in danger. We congratulate Turkey on this inscription under criterias 1, 2, and 4. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Finally, Cuba, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Nuestra delegación también desea agradecer al Estado de Turquía por la candidatura presentada y nos sumamos a las enmiendas presentadas por Brasil porque consideramos que no es necesario inscribir este bien en la lista en peligro. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to our reporter to give us the amendments, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As we have heard during the discussion, I have received amendments to this draft decision. The original decision called for the site to be inscribed on the World Heritage List and simultaneously inscribe it on the World Heritage List in danger. The amendment submitted by Brazil, Azerbaijan, Zimbabwe, China, Bosnia, Hungary, and Tanzania would inscribe the site on the World Heritage List but not on the World Heritage List in danger. As such, you will notice in the amendments that you have on the screen that we have slight changes to the assessment of the conditions of integrity as well as authenticity. And we have the proposal to delete paragraph 4, which would have put this site on the World Heritage List in danger, and logically also the deletion of paragraph 5, which would have detailed the desired state of conservation. And finally, we have a set of smaller amendments in the new paragraph 4 and the new paragraph 5. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or intervention, or shall we adopt it? Norway, please. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Norway suggests to put an addition into paragraph 5, the last paragraph, to prolong the sentence with at which time the committee may consider, in case of the confirmation, ascertained or potential danger to OUV, the possible inscription of the property on the list of the World Heritage in danger. Thank you.
Thank you. Zimbabwe, please.
Madam Chair, over the 2 days of the committee, we have tried to maintain a spirit of encouragement and to give the state party our confidence. And it is on the basis of this report that we will then start making decisions, but we should not be threatening the state party at this time. And I feel that the addition proposed by Norway goes against what the committee has agreed to do in the past few days. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make mine the words just said by our distinguished colleague of Zimbabwe, and would like, with relation to the suggestion made by my colleague from Norway, I would call his attention to the fact that every single nomination or every single site inscribed has a potential risk for many difficult reasons. So I believe that if the country is committed, is working towards the preservation of the site, and I believe that we should give the country this positive sign of encouragement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Having heard almost each and every expert within our committee members, it was very clearly stated at this stage we don't see any threat to the proposed property. And again, we just want to second what was just said by a distinguished delegate of Ambassador of Zimbabwe, that it's kind of a prejudice. So we don't see any necessity to have this addition in this paragraph, and propose also to delete. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Madame la Présidente, la Tunisie souhaite que notre décision garde cette intonation positive et confiante à l'endroit de l'État partie, et surtout faire confiance à la 44e session de notre comité qui aura à apprécier la teneur du rapport présenté à ce moment-là, et s'il y a nécessité, c'est à ce comité-là de le décider. Mais restons sur une note positive, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, please.
Madam Chair, we are also supporting the proposal from Zimbabwe. We think this committee is more proactive and encouraging rather than threatening. And this has been the exercise since the beginning of this committee. So we're supporting the proposal of Zimbabwe. We don't see why we have to put this statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China wishes to add its voice to those of Zimbabwe, Brazil, Azerbaijan, Tunisia, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Spain, please.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Yo creo que la propuesta que ha hecho Noruega es correcta, pero también hay que decir que el modo de actuar el comité en estos días va en sentido contrario. Es decir, las normas así lo establecen. Si va a correr peligro, estará en la lista en peligro. Entonces demos un voto de confianza al Estado parte que seguro que tomará las medidas para que esto no ocurra. Por lo tanto, la delegación del Reino de España es partidaria de suprimir esta observación.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly, Indonesia would like to align ourselves with Zimbabwe, Brazil, Azerbaijan, Tunisia, Tanzania, China, and Spain to propose a deletion of the amendment suggested by Norway. Thank you.
Thank you. Bosnia, please.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. La Bosnie-Herzégovine voudrait aussi, nous voudrions aussi nous joindre aux autres États qui pensent que cet ajout n'est pas nécessaire. Merci.
Thank you very much. So, can you do? I don't know. Yes. Now, can we adopt the decision? The most of the committee member accept the text, not like what proposed by Norway. So it's fine. We adopt it as it is now in front of you. without Norway's amendment? Yes? It's confirmed, huh?
Yes.
Thank you. I therefore declare draft decision 42, Com 8B 34 adopted. On your behalf, I congratulate Turkey and I give them the floor.
Mrs. Chairperson, members of the committee, dear colleagues, I would first like to thank heartily for the Bahrain authorities for their effective organization and magnificent hospitality. This is another remarkable accomplishment for the World Heritage Committee, since we have just inscribed, you have just inscribed an 11,000-year-old masterpiece of human creative genius. I would like to thank all members of the committee, as well as ICOMOS, for their support and acknowledgement of Gobekli Tepe's unquestionable, outstanding universal value. As you realize, this site is comprised of the world's earliest known megalithic stone buildings, alongside numerous recently discovered domestic structures, suggesting that this site was a major social and ritual hub in the early Neolithic period. Furthermore, the unique craftsmanship observed at Gobekli Tepe provides us with an unprecedented insight into the traditions and narratives of a prehistoric population at this crucial time in human history. We would like to state that the conservation and maintenance of Gobekli Tepe is under the full responsibility and protection of the Turkish authorities. We are aware of our responsibilities and are ready to fulfill all related commitments, and to this end, we will continue to work with ICOMOS. Let me also extend my sincere thanks to all Turkish authorities involved in the preparation of the nomination file. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move to the next site, Germany, Nuremberg Cathedral. I now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination of Nuremberg Cathedral, Germany. The draft decision concerning this nomination can be found in document 8B at ICOMOS. ICOMOS, you have the floor. Thank you.
Many thanks, Madam Chair. This is the presentation of the ICOMOS evaluation of Nuremberg Cathedral in Germany. The ICOMOS report can be found in document INF 8B1.add on page 34 of the English version and page 37 of the French version. And you know that the draft decision 42 Com 8B 35 is found in document 8B add. The World Heritage Committee referred back this nomination at its 41st session in Krakow last year. The decision was in relation to a larger medieval cultural landscape which included the old town of Nuremberg and its cathedral. Nuremberg Cathedral dates primarily to the 13th century and is nominated as a testimony to medieval art and architecture, in particular the workshop organization of sculptors and stonemasons known as the Nuremberg Master. The revised material submitted by the State Party has reduced the boundary to the cathedral and its immediate setting. In addition to the cathedral building, the property includes associated medieval buildings, the cathedral garden, and fortifications. The new material provides a detailed description of exterior and interior elements of the cathedral, its floor plan, and artistic works. It has a Romanesque structure flanked by two Gothic choirs, demonstrating a transitional style between late Romanesque and early Gothic. Notable architectural and artistic features of Nuremberg Cathedral include its 2 Gothic choirs and a series of very important sculptures. In the west choir, pillars supporting the vault merge with 12 life-size sculptures of the founders, aristocratic men and women of the Thuringian Saxon nobility. These are considered to be unique within European medieval sculpture. The West Rood screen is also considered to be a significant achievement of the Nuremberg master and is well known and highly regarded in the history of art. The State Party has provided a new comparative analysis in relation to European religious architecture from the 13th to 14th centuries. However, ICOMOS does not consider that it supports the case for inclusion of the cathedral in the World Heritage List. In the context of the global strategy, ICOMOS also notes that religious architecture of this historical period and geocultural context is relatively well represented in the World Heritage List. ICOMOS has not identified any issues in relation to the conditions of integrity and authenticity, but notes that these are inextricably connected to the ability of the property to meet one or more of the criteria and all the requirements of outstanding universal value. For ICOMOS, a key question arising from this referred back proposal is whether the outstanding universal value of the cathedral can rest on the artistic elements associated with the Nuremberg master alone, given that the cathedral itself is assessed as otherwise not exceptional or outstanding in its architectural, historical, or aesthetic characteristics. ICOMOS is not aware of examples of inscription based on artistic elements alone, since the current wording of Criterion 1 was adopted in 1995 when the words unique artistic achievement were removed from the Criterion text in order to comply with the directions of the global strategy. The State Party has proposed this nomination in relation to criteria 1, 2, and 4. ICOMOS does not consider that these criteria are demonstrated. The reasons for each of these judgments are given in the ICOMOS evaluation report. The boundaries are well delineated. No specific rationale for the delineation of the buffer zone is provided in the material submitted, but ICOMOS has not identified any concerns. There are few threats to this property. It is very well cared for. Although no management plan was submitted, ICOMOS has no concern about the legal protection, state of conservation, or management system. The evaluation of this referred back nomination has taken into account Decision 41-8B29, which indicated 3 bases for the previous nomination to be referred back to the State Party. The first point asked the State Party to rescope the nomination by focusing on the given outstanding universal value of Nuremberg Cathedral. ICOMOS recalls that according to the operational guidelines, outstanding universal value is not formally recognized when nominations are the subject of refer-back decisions by the World Heritage Committee, since this recognition occurs at the time of inscription. ICOMOS has evaluated the new material submitted by the State Party according to its usual working methods. As noted already in the professional judgment of ICOMOS, Nuremberg Cathedral does not meet any of the cultural criteria and should not be inscribed, creating an uncomfortable lack of alignment with the World Heritage Committee's decision taken at its 41st session. The second asked the State Party to adjust the boundaries of the nominated property and the management plan. The State Party has adjusted the boundaries, but no revised management plan was submitted. However, ICOMOS does not have concerns about the management system and suggests that this does not constitute a critical point for decision. The final point asks the State Party to review the Statement of Outstanding Universal Value of Nuremberg Cathedral for final adoption by the committee within 3 years. The meaning of this point is not clear to ICOMOS, but it has been understood to mean that the State Party should submit its revised material within the usual timeframe, which it is clearly done. To conclude, ICOMOS considers that Decision 41-8B29, taken in Krakow, 2017, has preempted its ability to fully evaluate the merit of this referred back nomination according to the manner prescribed in the operational guidelines and its own working methods. With great respect to all, ICOMOS finds that it is unable to make a recommendation concerning inscription of this property, but has provided its advice on each aspect in its evaluation report to assist the committee. Based on the material submitted, ICOMOS considers that Nuremberg Cathedral does not meet any of the cultural criteria. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to St. Kitts, please.
Madam Chair, thank you. You recall that last year, the committee, based on expert advice, found that Nuremberg Cathedral demonstrated clear potential for OUV and referred back the nomination to the state party to address some key issues to ensure that all was in compliance with these requirements. These issues were clearly articulated, and the state party has, in our view, directly and convincingly addressed them. We are therefore well positioned to complete this process today. ICOMOS agrees with the state party that the interior of Nuremberg Cathedral is outstanding, but assesses the architectural hull separately. We note that this assessment is a minority position in the academic world, whereas a strong majority consensus view emerging is that the unity of architecture and arts in Nuremberg is unique, inseparable, and importantly of highest value. The argument, therefore, is really about the front and the back of the very same stones which feature artworks on the inside, but which also serve as integral parts of the wall on the outside of the cathedral. With utmost respect for the commendable work ICOMOS has put into the advice and evaluation of this nomination, we need to make clear the main issue of contention, that is, a stone within a wall is either of outstanding value or it is not. There can be no separate evaluation. However, ICOMOS raises a valid point regarding the committee's stance on artworks as opposed to architecture and is looking for guidance on this matter. St. Kitts and Nevis strongly believes that such guidance should be given as requested by clarifying the draft statement of OUV for Nuremberg Cathedral, pointing to the fact that, 1, a single intelligence, however named or identified, stood behind the conception and realization of the Western Choir as an integral whole, not a mere separate artwork. The sculptures and choir screens are not removable artworks, but are sculpted from the same blocks of stone as the pillars and are in fact indivisible from the building. The integrated program of sculpture, glass, and architecture were conceived, designed, and executed together to form a single original masterpiece. That this was executed within a 6-year period is also an extraordinary feat, given that such programs normally take decades or even centuries to complete, and its indisputable OUV deserves a global recognition within the context of the World Heritage List. St. Kitts and Nevis therefore proposes to amend the draft statement and have forwarded our proposal to the rapporteur in advance for the convenient editing and reading on screen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. We recall and note the decision 41 Com HB 29 adopted in the 41st session in Krakow that the property has been referred back to the state party and the statement of outstanding universal value should be reviewed for final adoption by the committee within 3 years. The state party has complied with this decision. After thoroughly studying the nomination dossier, Indonesia shared the opinion that Nuremberg Cathedral that is nominated by Germany exhibits a high degree of authenticity to the Middle Ages. It bears a truly unique testimony to medieval architecture and sculpture. It brilliantly demonstrated a product of Nuremberg Master Workshop, which has innovative and considered a pioneer of the 23rd century architect and sculpture. In addition, the migration of Nuremberg Master Workshop from northeastern France through the Middle Rhine and further to southwestern Europe has in fact facilitated cultural exchange in European context. We learn also that ICOMOS has not identified any issue in relation to the condition of integrity and authenticity, that the boundary and its buffer zone of the property are appropriate with effective legal protection. ICOMOS also considers that the cathedral and associated elements demonstrate a good state of conservation. Considering all the above, we align ourselves with other committee members who had recommended this property to be inscribed on the World Heritage List. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. First of all, I would like to emphasize that the State of Kuwait were member in the last convention, the 41 convention. And looking at the presentation done by the advisory board, and we thank them for them, it feels like that we're going back to square one. I'm sure a lot of this discussion has been done by the last convention and it was taken and was awarded for the nomination. It's a giving outstanding universal value. I don't understand how we go back to square one saying it doesn't have. What happened in the last committee, it was not a working group to submit a draft decision. It was a committee, and I'm quoting the secretarial last Tuesday. They're emphasizing on respecting the decisions of the committee so we don't have this controversial discussion. So I'm confused how in the last committee, with its all expertise, with everyone, and it was awarded an OUV, and after submitting few documents of the state party, it comes back, it does not have. It doesn't make sense. I don't think it's the right way to holding or dealing with files have disagreement in it. A lot of files has been discussed today. A lot of there's agreement at the end. We respect the majority decision, which is stated in the presentation done by our dear colleagues in the advisory board. So we need clarification for that before we take our decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Uganda, please, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, Uganda aligns itself with the statements made by the delegations of St. Kitts and Nevis, Indonesia, and Kuwait. We wish to congratulate the state part of Germany for this concise and well-prepared nomination. My delegation believes that Nuremberg Cathedral is a necessary addition to the World Heritage List, for it marks the best work of the unique European craftsmanship of the 13th century, called the Nuremberg Master. Uganda noted that ICOMOS points to the relatively high number of European cathedrals already inscribed on the World Heritage List. My delegation has reviewed the literature and recent research done on the Nuremberg Cathedral and has come to a conclusion that the property is unique in its own right. The universal significance of the Nuremberg Cathedral is invariably recognized by scholars around the world. Although it is true that Gothic cathedrals are well represented on the World Heritage List, this does not diminish Nuremberg's outstanding qualities in any way. It is also important to note that Nuremberg serves to address a gap on the World Heritage List according to the ICOMOS gap analysis of the year 2004. This analysis found the themes Protestantism and evangelization, which denote very few occurrences on the World Heritage List. Nuremberg Cathedral addresses both. It is today a Protestant church and has been since the Lutheran Reformation 500 years ago. In fact, The cathedral was a decisive location for Protestantism in its wake, as Martin Luther himself ordained the first Protestant bishop in the Nuremberg Cathedral in the year 1542. Also, at the time of the Nuremberg Master, the cathedral was a decisive conveyor of the evangelization movement in Central and Eastern Europe during the 13th century and was built for that very purpose. We therefore wish to express our strongest support for the draft amendment proposed by St. Kitts and Nevis to inscribe the property on the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 1 and 2. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a member of the committee in both the 40th and the 41st session of this committee, Zimbabwe is a co-sponsor of the draft amendment. The committee on its 41st section decided that the Nuremberg Cathedral had potential OUV and encouraged the state party to bring back to the committee a revised dossier focusing on the cathedral. This is what the state party has done. I think, however, Madam Chair, we are dealing with two matters. We would like at this point to state that the global strategy for a representative list is at stake. The 18th session of the committee did note the monumental bias of the World Heritage List. The first meeting of the global strategy took place in my country, in Zimbabwe. However, since then, we have paid lip service to the issue of the representative list. Unless, therefore, there is a clear concept of fully booked, as we had this morning, we will continue to struggle with properties which meet the criteria, and as long as the site meets the criteria, we will exercise the rule of the operational guidelines to use the scientific evaluation. We are using the scientific evaluation here. At some point, state parties to the convention will need to take brave decisions and put limits on certain types of properties on the list, but we cannot penalize this property because of our lack of courage and progress in implementing the global strategy. I therefore fully support the draft decision, the amended draft decision.
Very much. Angola, please, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. À travers la décision du comité de l'année dernière, et nous étions également présents à cette session, donc nous avons bien recommandé un renvoi pour ces biens qui était intitulé déjà l'année dernière comme étant la cathédrale de Nuremberg et les sites associés dans le paysage culturel de la salle et de l'Institut de l'Allemagne. Alors, 3 recommandations fondamentales ont été faites à l'État partie. Je les cite. Redéfinir la proposition d'inscription en la recentrant sur la valeur universelle exceptionnelle donnée de la cathédrale de Nuremberg. Ajuster les limites et revoir la déclaration de la valeur universelle exceptionnelle. Alors, l'analyse du rapport qui nous est soumis par l'ICOMOS montre que l'État partie a pris en considération ces recommandations. Bien que l'ICOMOS ait mis des réserves sur l'évaluation des éléments de l'analyse comparative qui ont certainement joué un peu sur les attributs de la VUE, nous pensons à notre avis qu'une bonne évaluation des éléments présentés par l'État partie concernant les critères 1 et 4 pourrait bien justifier la VUE du bien. D'ailleurs, l'ICOMOS affirme que la justification de la valeur universelle exceptionnelle proposée est potentiellement pertinente. Il souligne le mot pertinente. En outre, la révision des limites et les systèmes de protection et de conservation et de gestion sont appropriés. Toutefois, nous sommes stupéfaits de voir que le rapport qui nous est présenté soulève deux principaux questionnements. Un, si réellement l'État partie a travaillé en collaboration avec l'UCOMOS pour réviser son dossier selon les recommandations figurant dans la décision que nous avons déjà citée, qui était à notre avis une perspective positive, pourquoi nous nous retrouvons aujourd'hui face à une décision de non-inscription qui fait reculer cette proposition d'inscription? Cela nous paraît être un cas spécial dans l'histoire de la Convention et du Comité. Deux, le projet de décision qui nous est soumis déclare clairement que l'ICOMOS est dans l'incapacité d'émettre une recommandation concernant l'inscription de ces biens. Par conséquent, nous aimerions savoir qui a finalement émis la recommandation de non-inscription. Au regard des éléments de notre analyse, nous aimerions que l'ICOMOS, le Centre du patrimoine mondial et l'État partie nous apportent des informations et des clarifications afin que nous puissions prendre une décision plus appropriée. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nomination processes for World Heritage require substantial resources in the state party concerned, the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies. And more than that, nominations create expectations, engagement, pride, commitment and ownership, locally, regionally and nationally. Nuremberg Cathedral came on the tentative list in 1999, and I have no doubts that the people of Nuremberg, Sachsen-Anhalt and the Federal Republic of Germany may be hopeful, confused, maybe even deeply frustrated. More than anything, it is deeply painful to realize that the advice provided by ICOMOS in conjunction with the guidance and previous decisions of the World Heritage Committee have resulted in the highly awkward and difficult situation we find ourselves in now. The Nuremberg Cathedral and its work of architecture and art are indeed significant and truly special. Yet, for the third time, we have a recommendation proposing that this nomination, which began its journey as a large cultural landscape, now in its third iteration as the Nuremberg Cathedral, should not be inscribed. My first point would be that without a recognized OUV expressed through one or more of the criteria specified, there can be no World Heritage. And in this case, ICOMOS considers that none of the cultural criteria have been demonstrated. Further, according to para 51 and 154 of the operational guidelines, OUV is recognized at the time of inscription, not given in advance. This brings me to my second point. We have a nomination dossier in front of us, revised by the state party in line with previous decisions, but in our reading of the referral procedure, as outlined in para 159 of the operational guidelines, a nomination coming back after being referred with a different name, completely different arguments to justify its criteria, entirely new statements of integrity and authenticity, totally altered boundaries, is in our reading far beyond the scope of this procedure. Thirdly, and most importantly, Criterion 1 was changed in 1995 to accommodate the ambitions of the global strategy adopted in 1994. We have very carefully reviewed this nomination, all the supplementary information, and discussed with the state party, in particular in light of Criterion 1. We do realize that Germany has provided a nomination meeting the very highest standards, proving that management and protection is in place, authenticity and integrity likewise. But without a valid argument for the criteria, OUV cannot be established. And more than anything, with half of properties of the World Heritage List found in Europe and more than half of this year's nomination coming from Europe, we are challenged by the question, do we contribute to a more representative, balanced and credible World Heritage List if the committee inscribes yet another property in this category? Madam Chair, for these reasons, the outstanding universal value, the credibility of this convention, the need to review the referral procedure and its application in light of this unfortunate case, and in respect of the global strategy and our mutual responsibility to adhere to the principles outlined in para 59 of the operational guidelines concerning the establishment of a representative, balanced and credible World Heritage List, Norway has, after careful and conflicting, painful considerations, come to support the draft decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Tanzania commends the set part of Germany for the hard work of preparing the nomination of the Nuremberg Cathedral site. Tanzania also thanks and appreciates the work of the advisory bodies
for the missions and ultimately the analysis and the presentation of this nomination. This nomination of the property was presented and discussed during the 39th session of the committee in Bonn, Germany. In this 39th session, the nomination was deferred to the said party so as to do 5 things. 1, explore further the relationship between the Nuremberg Cathedral and the surrounding landscape. 2, strengthen the representativeness of the territorial and urban organization for the period of the High and Middle Ages. 3, refine the boundaries of the site. 4, submit on the above basis a significantly revised nomination. And 5, invite ICOMOS to offer advice and guidance. I am told these undertakings were successfully completed. This nomination was again presented and discussed during the 41st session. In this session, the nomination was referred to the state party so as to scope the nomination, to adjust the boundaries of the nominated property and the management plan, and to review the settlement of outstanding universal value of the property. I am also informed that these were also accomplished successfully. Tanzania delegation considers that the discussions and the dialogue that take place during the committee sessions are generally and basically based on consensus and the mutual understandings, and therefore bear a collective responsibility from all the implementers of the convention. It is the Tanzania delegation understanding that the World Heritage Committee, the advisory bodies, and the committee should collectively own the decisions of the committee in one way or another, regardless of the differences in their making. This is because every partner or implementer is normally given an opportunity to add a voice when the decisions are being discussed before the approval of any decision. When the delegation of Tanzania went through the advisory bodies' analysis and in their presentation of this nomination, it finds out a very significant divergence is noted, that this nomination draft decision has moved from referral to non-inscription. Tanzania delegation is very surprised on this decision. This is very, very contrary to the decisions of the committee prior to this, where it was deferred and then referred. In the normal process, Tanzania delegation had expected to see inscription, or at the worst scenario would be referral again. What does this mean? Is the committee being asked to make an adjustment to the previous year's decision, or what does the advisory body want to tell us? Is a legal advisor needed in this situation, or guidelines and the rules of procedures or common sense can help us to go out of this? Tanzania delegation wishes to support the amended draft decision for inscription on the basis of criteria 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais saisir l'occasion de ce dossier pour soulever une question qui est en rapport avec le premier point qu'on avait évoqué dès la première intervention de la Tunisie à ce comité. Nous sommes tout autant attachés à la lettre qu'à l'esprit de la Convention. Et donc, la situation dans laquelle on se trouve est quelque peu kafkaïenne à nos yeux. Je crois qu'il y a un problème de compétence de ce comité par rapport à la décision en matière d'OUV, quelles que soient nos appréciations d'aujourd'hui. Il y a un problème qui se pose prima facie et une question de compétence dans le temps. Je suis heureux que ce site, on le discute juste après avoir voté positivement pour le site de Gobekli tout à l'heure, et j'avais réagi à la proposition de l'honorable représentant de la Norvège que la Tunisie estimait qu'il n'était pas de notre compétence de préjuger à l'avenir de la compétence du 44e comité. Comme nous ne pouvons pas préjuger à l'avenir, nous ne pouvons pas déjuger par rapport à ce qui a été décidé, quelle que soit notre appréciation d'aujourd'hui, auquel cas, si nous ne le faisons pas, il n'y a plus aucune cohérence au fonctionnement de ce comité. Notre compétence comme comité, ainsi que la compétence de l'État partie dans ce dossier et a fortiori des organes consultatifs, est une compétence liée dans les limites de la mission qui lui a été communiquée par la décision de l'ancien comité. En deçà de cela, on serait en pleine contradiction Et je répète, quelle que soit notre appréciation aujourd'hui de ce dossier, il faut bien qu'il y ait une stabilité dans nos décisions, une cohérence dans nos décisions et quelque part une application par les sessions successives par rapport à nos décisions antérieures. Si nous ne le faisons pas, nous sommes en train de transformer nos sessions successives en une forme juridictionnelle, comme si la session suivante pouvait se mettre à la place d'une autorité qui pourrait dédire ce qui a été dit à la session principale. Je crois que ce comité a une limite rationnée temporis, c'est-à-dire une limite par rapport à notre compétence dans le temps, et on ne peut pas déjuger ce qui a été dit préalablement. Nous y attachons, Madame la Présidente, le plus grand prix. Et merci de votre attention.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Nuremberg Cathedral dates primarily to the 13th century and is nominated as a testimony to medieval art and architecture. The work of the Nuremberg master is notable for its ability to combine sculpture with architectural elements and because of the realistic expressions of the sculptures. The Nuremberg master is one of the most important artists of the Middle Age. Sculptures by the Nuremberg master are also found in other places in Europe as well. Regarding criteria 1, ICOMOS finds exceptionality in the sculpture works within Nuremberg Cathedral, but not in its architectural hall. We don't share these concerns because there can be no separation between sculptures and architecture. The sculptures were designed and created as integral parts of cathedral walls. The sculptures are the inseparable parts of the wall masonry. At the same time, they are load-bearing details of the wall as other masonry stones. If the sculpture will be taken off, part of wall masonry can be collapsed. It's a reason why we don't agree with the advisory body that this nominated property is setting a precedent for a change in the use of criteria 1. On the contrary, the Nuremberg Cathedral as a whole forms a unique synthesis of the art and architectural construction and fully meet the criteria 1 and 2. The integrity of the nominated property is based on the unchanged layout and architectural elements of the mid-13th century cathedral and the lack of any adverse effects or pressures. The authenticity of the nominated property is demonstrated by the intact materials and form of the cathedral, which date to the High Middle Age. Furthermore, we want to emphasize that there were 2 decisions of World Heritage Committee on this property, and we strongly believe that the World Heritage Committee should be consistent in its relative decisions. So last year in Krakow, this committee adopted a decision on referral and at the same time recognized potential on OUV and came up with certain recommendations. State party complied with these recommendations, and now back we are in Bahrain again discussing this issue. So based on these points and earlier said justification of OUV, we support this inscription of this property into the World Heritage List, and we support amended draft decision in this regard. Thanks so much, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Australia, you have the floor.
Madam Chairperson, here we are again working through the sort of situation we should all work hard to avoid. Firstly, let me support the comments from the distinguished representative of Norway in underlining the importance of the global strategy and, frankly, the need for those of us who have many places on the World Heritage List already to stand back and give the opportunity for other countries to show us their World Heritage and bask in the glory of this convention. I also, though, want to align with the comments of the distinguished representative from Zimbabwe about the need to differentiate between our consideration of this dossier and the global strategy, and note in doing so that from next year, under operational guideline number 61, we will have for the first time a mechanism that we apply as a committee to prioritise the inscription of places on the World Heritage List in conformance with the global strategy, and this is something we should all warmly welcome. Australia has real concerns about the way this site has been considered by the committee in previous years. In 2015, the committee deferred the nomination and requested the state party to significantly revise the dossier to explore the relationship between the cathedral and the surrounding landscape. In 2017, the committee referred the nomination back to the state party while also recognising the outstanding universal of the cathedral, a most unusual decision and one we are not convinced was in conformance with the operational guidelines. And in contrast to the 2015 decision, the State Party was asked to refocus the nomination on the Cathedral itself, Back to the Future. We note that the State Party has complied with the committee's past decisions, but we note too that given the previous committee's decision to refer, we are now faced with deciding on a significantly revised nomination that has not been reviewed by an evaluation mission. This case underlines the importance of the committee thoroughly reviewing the nomination process. But let me now move past Australia's reflections on the process. We are able to support the proposed amendment to inscribe Nuremberg Cathedral on the World Heritage List under criteria 1 and 2. The splendour of the cathedral is clearly evident. It is unique, a testament to the work of the Nuremberg master, in this instance, the most exquisite rendering of groundbreaking innovations in architecture and sculpture that spread across medieval Europe in the second half of the 13th century. We thank the State Party of Germany for this nomination.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Hungary commends the State Party for its persistence in working in close cooperation with the advisory body on its file, respecting the rules of procedures and the spirit of the Convention. The result of the years-long preparation work is a high-quality nomination file corresponding to the criteria and requirements. With full respect and acknowledgement toward the recommendations of ICOMOS, in the present case, Hungary doesn't believe that the evaluation of the OUV of the Nuremberg Cathedral was in every respect well-based. Hungary would like to emphasize the significance of the Nuremberg Cathedral is not the 60s or 70s nominated cathedral waiting for inscription, but the first one whose western core is not only a masterpiece of the late Romanesque architecture, together with the sculptures, but also a master for many other cathedrals in Europe with its new artistic design. Therefore, Hungary is convinced about the exceptional, overall universal value of this property and thinks that it is justified to be inscribed on the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 1 and 2, and supports the amended draft decision submitted by St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Spain, please.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. España quiere también subrayar, como otras delegaciones, la contradicción que hay entre la estrategia global, que recuerdo es aprobada por la Asamblea de los Estados Partes, y las decisiones de este comité, y todas ellas han de verse en concordancia. En este sentido, como bien ha señalado la delegación de Noruega, la propuesta de un referral no significa per se que se haya declarado el valor universal excepcional. Del informe que nos ha presentado ICOMOS no queda o queda reflejado que no está perfectamente justificado, y entendiendo también los comentarios que han hecho otras delegaciones sobre la coherencia con decisiones previas de otros comités, nosotros sí que queríamos subrayar que por parte de España se está haciendo un gran esfuerzo en ser coherente con esa estrategia global. Debemos recordar que ya hay más de 90 catedrales inscritas, incluido también centros históricos, 46 bienes o inmuebles relativos a esta categoría, con lo cual es mucho más difícil probar ese valor excepcional, universal. Y también quisiéramos saber, porque en España hacemos un gran esfuerzo con nuestros centros históricos y con nuestras catedrales para explicarles cuál es el sentido de la estrategia global en términos también de representación geográfica, como de bienes que van a ser incorporados en la lista. Y por eso a nosotros nos hubiera gustado respetar la línea de los organismos de evaluación. No tenemos ningún obstáculo a que, a unirnos al consenso generalizado, pero sí que nos causa una una gran contradicción también interna en la medida en que hemos seguido una política muy estricta de cumplimiento con esta estrategia. Por lo tanto, nos gustaría resaltar que las decisiones que adoptamos, tanto en el Comité como en la Conferencia General de Partes, tienen que ser concordes. Y por ello, animamos a este Comité a que cuando se revisen estos bienes se tengan muy en cuenta las observaciones al respecto que han sido subrayadas por ICOMOS en esta línea. Y simplemente quisiera también engarzar con los comentarios que ha hecho la delegación en Noruega, que es precisamente en este comité en el que se declarará o no el valor universal excepcional de este bien propuesto. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. According to ICOMOS report, the Nuremberg Cathedral lacks exceptional and outstanding architectural or historic characteristics when compared to other European cathedrals of the period, which, by the way, are well represented on the World Heritage List, including a number of extraordinary examples from Germany. In light of the over-representation of European, Christian, and monumental architecture properties on the list, our view is that inscribing a property without clarity on the attributes that convey its OUV would be detrimental to the global strategy for a representative, balanced, and credible World Heritage List. We consider that the comparative criteria proposed by the state party relying exclusively on the work of the Nuremberg master is possibly rather too narrow for justifying the OUV, though we highly echo its importance, the importance of the Nuremberg master in the history of art. Madam Chair, we're faced here with a procedural issue. The committee took last year a referral decision to rescope the nomination by focus on the given, and I stress given, OUV of this property, and review the OUV statement for final adoption by this session. This is Brazil's first year in the committee at the current mandate, and we believe that if the committee found the OUV, it could have perhaps provided sounder guidance on where the bases of OUV are laid in relation to the World Heritage criteria. Madam Chair, the State Party has fully complied with the committee's last year's decision and submitted for the current session a new nomination dossier focusing on the cathedral alone, rather than on the cultural landscape, which was the original orientation of this nomination, as we, the committee, has requested. Though movable heritage and artwork is outside the scope of this convention, the works of the Nuremberg master are integral components of the cathedral. As put forward by ICOMOS, the key question arising from this proposal is whether OUV can rest exclusively on these artworks. If the committee is to agree that the artistic achievements of the cathedral provide the foundations for its OUV, Brazil is apprehensive that this might be setting a risky precedent for consideration of properties only grounded on the artistic works for inscription on the World Heritage List in detriment of the global strategy. In the case the committee decides for inscriptions on these bases, as it seems the case, Brazil will join the growing consensus and support inscription and recommend that an expert meeting is convened in order to develop guidance on how integrated artwork can be taken as to sustain OUV in light of the global strategy. Madam Chair, we have some text concerning this proposal of an expert meeting, and I seek your guidance if we should present it in this nomination, in this draft decision, or we should include in a more broader decision, since it's a more general proposal for general policy guidance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. China fully acknowledges the outstanding universal value of Germany's nomination, Nuremberg Cathedral, which completely justifies the criteria 1, 2, and 4. China knows that this nomination has been submitted to the previous session of the World Heritage Committee for examination for twice. Although the state party has modified its boundaries in order to implement the decisions adopted to meet the inscription criteria, however, it seems that ICOMOS has brought the state party in a very difficult situation, despite all the above-mentioned efforts that have been undertaken by its newest recommendation that this property not to be inscribed. China is in the view that some key procedures of the nomination process must be revised, and that advisory body's recommendation must keep in consistency with the previous ones, in order that state parties' nomination with OUV not be negatively affected. Therefore, China fully supports the amendment of the job decision proposed by St. Kitts and Nevis, supported by a number of committee members, that this property be inscribed on the World Heritage List. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Comus to clarify, please. Thank you. And the Secretariat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was a question asked by Angola referring to the draft decision that is put in front of the committee here, and I'd like to address that question. As we already heard from ICOMOS in its presentation, actually, decision 41 8B29 taken last year in Krakow has preempted the ability of the advisory body to fully evaluate the merit of this referred back nomination according to the manner prescribed in the operational guidelines and its working methods. So actually, of course, while the committee is free to take the decision it wishes to take, the Secretariat must follow the correct procedures, and in particular the articles of the Convention and of its operational guidelines. And we note, as it has already been noted also by the delegation of Norway, that in compliance with the Convention and the operational guidelines, outstanding universal value is recognized at the time of inscription of a property on the World Heritage List, and that no recognition is foreseen prior to this stage. So it means that under the referral, there is no outstanding universal value. This is why we have to draw the conclusions that are clearly stated in the recommendation of included in the evaluation of ICOMOS, where it says that the professional judgment of ICOMOS is that the Nuremberg Cathedral does not meet any of the cultural criteria. And as we know, cultural criteria or criteria, responding to the criteria, is the fundamental requirement to have the outstanding universal value and to be inscribed on the World Heritage List. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to all the distinguished members of the committee who have addressed this very difficult matter before us. Let me start by saying very clearly that ICOMOS does respect the decisions of the World Heritage Committee and also respects the very diligent work of the State Party in this and other cases. The Kuwait and others asked why ICOMOS has reviewed the OUV, or Outstanding Universal Value, in the material presented by the State Party, given the specific text that was provided by the 41st session. I think Tanzania raised also the fact that this was also considered by the 39th session of the World Heritage Committee, as well as the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee. And also Tanzania pointed out very well that in fact these two previous discussions, nominations, evaluations, and decisions did not evaluate the outstanding universal value of the cathedral alone, but rather referred to a nominated cultural landscape, very large cultural landscape related to the medieval history and heritage of this part of Germany. So when the 41st committee session made this particular decision that we've looked at so carefully today, while OUV was somehow found or assumed, it was not specified. There were no criteria mentioned, no particular reasons mentioned. So in the operational guidelines and in the convention and in all the work we do, ICOMOS is asked most of all to be rigorous, scientific, and objective in its work. And that is what we have truly done in this case. We were given in February a new comparative analysis, new arguments with relation to criteria for the cathedral to be considered as demonstrating outstanding universal value. We felt that we had no option but to evaluate this material. We felt that that was our duty in relation to the World Heritage Convention, and we felt it was our duty as a professional organization. I want to clarify that we do not necessarily see the World Heritage List as being, if you like, fully booked, as well expressed by Zimbabwe. However, as more properties are added to the list within certain thematic, typological, and geocultural contexts, the opening for new properties in these areas becomes narrowed, and in this case especially so. For this reason, and we note the comments made by Brazil and the proposal to perhaps initiate an expert study in relation to this particular matter, we welcome these proposals and welcome the opportunity to be involved. So I do not wish to create a major lack of harmony between ICOMOS and the World Heritage Committee, other than to reassure you that we have endeavored to serve you as well as we could. We have done our work scientifically, clearly, and have tried to be extremely transparent in the report we have provided to you about the situation in which we found ourselves upon the submission of the information by the state party at the start of this year. I should also just say, because various experts in this field have been invoked in some of your comments, that ICOMOS has also consulted many experts in this field in reaching its conclusion that no criteria are demonstrated by Nuremberg Cathedral, and that the comparative analysis does not, sadly and regrettably, support inclusion in the World Heritage List in the professional view of ICOMOS. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Angola, please, you have the floor.
Madame la Présidente, après avoir attendu du Comus et après avoir écouté plusieurs déclarations de certains membres du comité, il y a encore un autre problème qui se soulève. Certains membres ont dit, dans le cadre de la stratégie globale, il y a déjà beaucoup de biens inscrits qui sont des cathédrales sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Entre-temps, il y a un amendement qui est proposé, qu'il n'y a pas d'outils pour évaluer ce genre de biens. Donc là, il y a une contradiction finalement. Est-ce que les outils existent pour évaluer ce genre de biens? Parce qu'ils ont déjà été inscrits, il y a une série qui a été déjà inscrite. Mais on nous présente un autre projet de mettre en place un groupe de travail pour élaborer des outils d'évaluation. Donc là, nous sommes un peu perturbés, nous ne savons plus où aller exactement.
Thank you very much. Before I give Tunis, I will give the legal advisor to clarify some points. Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A number of important procedural and legal points have been raised by quite a number of delegations, and there's a number of issues that I would like to put forward for the record, because I think it's important for the committee's deliberations at this committee meeting, but also to have a better understanding of the rules of procedure and the way in which this committee should operate when it's considering proposals for nomination. So the first point that I would like to make is a point that was raised by a number of delegations, which is that outstanding universal value is determined at the time a property is inscribed. That's very clear when you look at the combined effect of Articles 11.2 and 13.8 of the Convention. What's also very clear looking at those provisions of the Convention and also the associated provisions of the operational guidelines is that a decision on inscription is made with a 2/3 majority, which means that a statement of universal value, which is adopted at and only at the time of inscription of a property, is decided upon by this committee by a 2/3 majority. An associated point, which I think is important, is that there seems to have been an unfortunate tendency, or I'm seeing the beginnings perhaps of an unfortunate tendency, for the committee to seek to make a determination at the time of referral or deferral in relation to outstanding universal value. That is not, in fact, within the mandate of the committee or the language of the Convention or the operational guidelines to be able to make a determination as to outstanding universal value upon a referral or a deferral decision. In this context, I think it's also extremely important to note that decisions as to referral or deferral are taken by a simple majority. It would be a very dangerous precedent for this committee and for the integrity and well-being, legal and governance of this convention and the associated instruments if decisions on outstanding universal value, which are supposed to be made at inscription with a 2/3 majority, are to be made upon referral or deferral with a simple majority. It completely subverts the intended and very clearly expressed language of the regime, which is provided for in the Convention and the operational guidelines and the rules of procedure. Another point which I think is important to raise is the suggestion that a particular committee is in some fashion bound by a decision that was made by a previous committee. In the particular case, as was mentioned by one or two of the delegations, the supposed OUV determination, which was supposedly given at the time of referral, was in relation to a quite different nomination. Quite properly, the concerned state has entirely reconfigured its nomination. So even if there had been a legitimate determination of outstanding universal value, which I would re-emphasize is not the case, given that a 2/3 majority is required upon inscription, any sort of a determination of OUV in relation to a completely differently configured proposal would not in any fashion be able to bind the committee. I think the last point that I would like to make is that each committee is, while it's considering any proposal before it, a sovereign body which should look at the considerations before it, the proposal before it, the expert advice before it, the positions put by member state before it, and at that time make the decisions incumbent upon the committee in light of the information and views expressed at the particular committee meeting. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Tunisia, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Quelle que soit l'issue de ce dossier, je crois que notre état de compréhension et d'intelligence de ce texte sera meilleur à l'issue, et c'est déjà une première satisfaction. Avec beaucoup d'intérêt, j'ai suivi les 3 interventions techniques de haute facture qui ont été présentées et par rapport auxquelles je souhaiterais apporter au débat la précision suivante. Il a été dit de manière globale qu'il n'y a de valeur universelle exceptionnelle établie au sens juridique qu'au moment de l'inscription. Je l'aurais bien pris comme tel et le problème sera résolu, si ce n'est, je suis lecteur peut-être têtu, mais lecteur de l'article 51 de notre texte de référence, qui est la Convention, qui parle, et je le lis, « Lors de l'inscription d'un bien sur la liste du patrimoine mondial, le comité adopte une déclaration de valeur universelle. » Si on se serait tenu là, c'est bon. Mais le texte suit. Pourquoi on fait la déclaration qui constituera la référence principale dans le futur pour la protection et la gestion? Donc, la déclaration de la valeur universelle est une chose, puisqu'elle suppose le support technique pour la suite, mais le constat fait par le comité, sinon on reviendrait à dire que nos réunions, c'est de la vanité absolue, puisqu'on a décidé, et on va dire on n'a pas tout à fait décidé. Je reviens sur le point qui a été soulevé par l'honorable expert juridique, qui nous dit « mais c'est la majorité des 2/3 ». La majorité des 2/3 dans le cas du vote, mais en l'occurrence, c'est une décision qui n'est pas passée par vote. Elle a été adoptée de manière consensuelle. Autrement dit, avec une majorité plus forte que les 2/3. Et donc, je crois qu'il nous faut, et vous avez vu que je ne parle pas du cas, je ne parle pas du site, je parle de la cohérence de l'interprétation de nos textes et la valeur des décisions qu'on a prises. La Tunisie était membre de ce comité l'année dernière et les membres de ce comité cette année, nous sommes soucieux que nos décisions, quelles qu'elles soient cohérentes dans le temps.
Thank you very much. Spain, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Yo agradezco también las aclaraciones técnicas tanto de Comus como de la asesora jurídica y sin querer entrar en un debate jurídico con mi querido colega el embajador de Túnez, puesto que si seguimos leyendo los artículos, si pasamos al artículo 55, se habla de Global Strategy for Representative, Balanced and Credible World Heritage List, en el que dice que en el artículo 55 que se ha definido para identificar y rellenar los major gaps. Y creo que en este comité también hemos tomado otra decisión respecto al caso de NIM y deberíamos ser coherentes con la misma, de la misma manera que hemos analizado de manera seria, valorando los criterios del dossier que nos ha presentado por Francia. Sin querer entrar, por lo tanto, en un debate jurídico, sí que me gustaría engarzar con la propuesta consultiva que ha hecho la delegación de Brasil de hacer un grupo de trabajo. Lo que nos gustaría es que ese grupo de trabajo fuera previo a la decisión que adoptemos, porque ese grupo de trabajo nos puede permitir ver cómo vamos a valorar a futuro este tipo de bienes que puedan ser presentados. Evidentemente, comprendo perfectamente el trabajo que se ha hecho por parte de las autoridades alemanas, que han hecho un trabajo muy serio, pero también hay que entender que hay bienes en otros países que desean incorporarse a esta lista y que desde los Estados estamos intentando cumplir con este artículo 55 también de las directrices. Por lo tanto, mi propuesta es apoyar que se cree ese grupo de trabajo y analizar cómo vamos a ver este tipo de candidaturas, digamos que teniendo un valor per se, están sobrerepresentadas y sin entrar o no, aunque es fundamental para nuestra decisión, en que la propuesta que nos ha hecho ICOMOS, como nos ha señalado, no están perfectamente justificados los valores culturales. Por eso, en un espíritu constructivo, querríamos sumarnos a esa propuesta de Brasil. Muchísimas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to the reporter to show us the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As it was noted during this very rich debate, we have received amendments on this proposed draft decision. The draft decision proposed for this property not to be inscribed on the list of World Heritage, and the amendments that we received would instead inscribe this property on the list of World Heritage. The amendment was tabled by St. Kitts and Nevis, Azerbaijan, Burkina Faso, China, Cuba, Guatemala, Hungary, Indonesia, Kuwait, Kyrgyzstan, Uganda, United Republic of Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. Consistent with an inscription, the text you see on the screen right now includes a provisional statement of outstanding universal value as well as identification of criteria under which the property should be inscribed, assessment of the conditions of integrity, as well as authenticity, and we have a statement on the protection and management requirements, and finally we have a new paragraph 5 with some recommendations to the state party. I also would like to point out that this draft, this amendment would also delete the original paragraph 5, in which the committee would have decided to include the review of the referral procedure and its application for examination in the framework of the next revision of the operational guidelines at its 43rd session. So these are the amendments that we have received, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Is there any objection to adopt the the decision as it is, as you see it in the screen? Australia, please.
It's just a brief technical point, Chairperson. The point about the adopting the provisional statement of outstanding universal value, the English version doesn't have the word provisional in there unless it's, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Norway, please. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Norway was fairly clear in its concerns, so I won't repeat those, but they are still very valid. In the interest of not interrupting this meeting, I am not going to make much more of a point of it, but I just want to reiterate that all our concerns are still very valid. With the decision in front of us, I would hope that we one way or the other could try to incorporate what was in paragraph 5 of the original draft decision. If it comes here or somewhere else, I think the Secretariat should guide us on that. And also, as expressed by Brazil and our colleagues from Spain, we would like to support what was suggested by Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I seek your guidance, Madam Chair, whether this is we put in this decision, because our proposal is to have a reflection on this matter. If this is the right place, I will propose the following amendment with your leave. It will be a last paragraph that could read, also decides to convene an expert meeting on World Heritage and integrated art to allow for reflection and to develop guidance on whether and how works of art as integral components of nominated properties might be proposed as basis for conveying OUV, provided that extra budgetary funding is available and invites state parties to contribute to this end. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Hemos escuchado con atención los debates y me voy a referir en este momento a la enmienda que presenta Brasil y nos parece que sería mejor en una decisión general. En esa decisión general sobre el punto 8, donde tenemos un grupo de dudas, de procesos que queremos iniciar en relación al proceso de inscripción, porque nos parece que contaminaría. Estoy leyendo la versión en francés y de hecho lo tienen como un inciso más de lo que le estamos pidiendo al Estado parte, aunque en la versión en inglés aparece como en un párrafo independiente. Creo que es un punto importante, pero que no debemos ponerlo en esta decisión. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Spain, please.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Nosotros habíamos apoyado la creación de este grupo de trabajo antes porque nos permitía saber qué íbamos a hacer de ahora en adelante. Yo creo que esto simplemente se puede reconducir a un debate sobre la propia estrategia global y no centrarnos en una categoría estricta, por lo cual, si adoptamos esta decisión, me parece totalmente redundante este párrafo y tener un debate más amplio en el marco de la revisión de la estrategia global y no específicamente relacionado a un tipo de bienes, porque hay otros que también están sobrerepresentados, por lo cual España preferiría que no se incluyera esta propuesta. Nuestro entendimiento era que este grupo de trabajo iba a ser previo, así que España pide que se suprima esta adición y que se reconduzca una referencia general a un análisis de la estrategia global. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Angola, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. J'ai bien compris maintenant la préoccupation que le Brésil soulevait. Donc, je suis tout à fait d'avis déjà que ce paragraphe ne figure pas sur ce projet de décision. Deuxième chose, ces débats pourraient revenir quand on va parler justement de la stratégie globale. Parce qu'il ne s'agit pas ici de nous focaliser uniquement sur ces genres de biens, mais il faudra voir la problématique dans son ensemble, c'est-à-dire des biens qui sont surreprésentés sur la liste. Donc, il y en a toute une série. Donc, je pense qu'on reviendra sur ces débats lors de la stratégie globale. Donc, on peut déjà éliminer ces paragraphes dans ces projets de décision.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, dear Chairperson. Hungary is at the same meaning. It is not important now, and we don't support the proposal of Brazil to organize, to put this paragraph into this decision. Though the idea is very important and we support the creation of such an expert meeting or something like this. And in this respect, I would like to mention the existing ad hoc group, which is still working and will work also in the later time. So maybe in the framework of the ad hoc group, this expert group could work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I welcome the observation from the distinguished representative of Cuba that there would be great value in the committee having the opportunity for a general discussion in relation to Agenda Item 8, and colleagues will recall that Australia circulated a draft decision that sought to establish exactly that dialogue. The committee, the Bureau decision was taken and Australia was supportive of that we would discuss that idea of having a general discussion about the nomination process, or setting up for a discussion next year, I should say, when we discuss Agenda Item 12A later in the committee meeting. So on that basis, what I'd like to ask is whether the distinguished representative of Brazil would be willing, having heard the discussion, to withdraw the suggestion here and to bring it forward under Agenda Item 12A, where we can incorporate it if it finds favour with the committee, and it would appear that it will.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, we raised our flag before Australia took the floor, and our intention was exactly to ask, through you, Madam Chair, the Secretariat, which would be the best place to put our proposed amendment. We would be happy to have it on the decision, a general decision on Item 8, or as suggested by Australia, to have it on 12B. Perhaps the Secretariat could give us some, could illuminate us on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bosnia, please.
It's okay. support the idea of Brazil, but to be separate meeting of many other questions related with procedures. And probably what Australia suggests should be done, meeting of experts before next meeting of 43 committee next year.
Thank you very much. The Secretariat will answer the question of Brazil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think to answer the question by Brazil, I think item 12B will be the best. Thank you.
Shall we adopt, excuse me, shall we adopt the decision as it is amended or as it is originally drafted? Yes, as it is amended? The rapporteur, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. If we could just scroll a little bit down to former yes paragraph 5, because we have a slight contradiction now, as Norway suggested keeping this original paragraph, but if I understood correctly, the debate that we just had, the committee would rather have paragraphs of this general nature under a different item, which would be 12B. So I imagine that in this sense, maybe we could request to you, Madam Chair, if the delegation of Norway would be in agreement to also bring up the contents of this paragraph under that general item. Thank you.
Yes, the representative of Norway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I did indeed ask for some clarification on where it would be sensible to put that decision, as I consider it a very important one. So again, I would ask for the advice of the Secretariat on the most appropriate place to put that paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In our opinion, it's probably the most appropriate place would be the new general decision on item 8, which in any case will have to be looked at in conjunction with 12A, to which it makes reference itself. But possibly to 8 seems to be the best place for that type of considerations and for the paragraph that was proposed, paragraph 5 proposed in the original draft decision. Thank you.
Norway, please.
Just a very quick question. Would the distinguished colleagues from Australia be happy to try to incorporate this in the proposal? Thank you.
Australia, please.
The answer is yes, though I must make the observation that when the Bureau asked for made the decision that we seek to discuss Australia's original proposal around the nominations process, to have a general discussion, the Bureau asked, and it was then conveyed to the committee, that that would be dealt with under agenda item 12A, which includes tasking for the ad hoc working group to undertake a review of the nomination process. So we, on that basis, were proposing to subsume the draft decision 8 that we had put forward into the draft decision for 12A. So I'm comfortable with it being incorporated into the wider amendments that we'll be suggesting for 12A, and then we'll see how we go.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it is my understanding in this sense that we can, yes, delete Norway's proposal to keep paragraph 5. And in this case, we have in front of us, as I have already proceeded to the presentation, an amendment to inscribe this property on the list of World Heritage. So, Madam Chair, I request to you from the committee to deliberate whether they agree with this inscription or they prefer the original draft decision. Thank you.
Yes, please. Now, just whether we agreed on this amendment or the original text of the decision. No. Zimbabwe, please.
Madam Chair, you already have 2/3 of the members of the committee are proposing the amended draft decision.
Thank you very much. So the amended draft decision, we adopt the amended draft decision as it is in front of you on the screen. Yes? So I therefore declare draft decision 42, 8B, 35, as amended, is adopted. Congratulations, Germany, and please, you have the floor. Please, can we go, please? Germany.
Madam Chair, dear colleagues, first of all, we are very grateful to ICOMOS, the World Heritage Center, and especially to the World Heritage Committee for your openness and your patience to look at this nomination for the 3rd time. Let me express our gratitude for the committee's decision to inscribe Naumburg Cathedral. We are humbled by the support expressed by the esteemed delegates towards this site. We also would like to thank ICOMOS for its very thorough evaluation of this site. Today, a nomination process that has lasted for the better part for 2 decades is coming to an end. And we are very grateful to all those involved in this very productive journey. The workshop of the Naumburg Master is an unparalleled case of cultural exchange and cooperation in architecture and arts throughout the European continent before the year 1300. With this decision, the committee honors this truly international achievement, which is in the best spirit of the convention. I would now like to pass the floor to the district president of Naumburg, Mr. Götz Ulrich, who would also like to address the members of the committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. So now we will discuss.
One moment.
Excuse me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Highly esteemed members of the committee, Madam Chair, I echo the ambassador in the notion of gratitude for the support we have received through all these years. Naumburg marks a turning point in the new universal history of arts and architecture. We are certain that it is an important addition to the World Heritage List, and we cordially invite all delegations to come to Naumburg to experience this milestone of the arts and architecture with their own eyes. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we will discuss the site of Canada, Biman Chinwin, Ake. I now invite ICOMOS and IUCN to present the nomination. And before that, I give the floor to Mr. Balsamo to introduce the site. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of Pimakyo-Wingake, and is to be found on page 9 of both the English and French version of a document INFAIT-B4. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. IUCN, please, and ICOMOS. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Could you please do the congratulation outside the plenary, please? Outside. There is a place, big place for you. Please. Okay, go ahead.
At the 40th session of the committee, a mixed nomination for Pimakyo-Wingake was referred back to the state party to allow it to consider issues related to management and effective governance. Subsequently, a new nomination was submitted, which includes a smaller area than the earlier nomination and the participation of 4 First Nations rather than 5. Pimakyo-Wingake encompasses the Anishinaabe and ancestral lands of the headwaters of the Barrens, Bloodvine, Pigeon, and Poplar rivers. This forest landscape, dissected by free-flowing rivers, lakes, and wetlands, includes portions of the lands of the Bloodvine, Little Grand Rapids, Pungasi, and Poplar River First Nations. Today, Anishinaabe communities in the nominated property are based in 4 small permanent settlements and harvest animals, plants, and fish consistent with their traditional practices and treaty rights. This large property encompasses 2.9 million hectares and is surrounded by a substantial buffer zone. The Anishinaabe are a highly mobile indigenous hunter-gathering fishing people who say they and their indigenous ancestors have made use of this and adjacent landscapes for over 7,000 years. Over time, they've been able to maintain their traditional culture, including knowledge of and respect for the landscape and the tangible and intangible resources it provides. The Anishinaabe cultural tradition of keeping the land involves honoring the Creator's gifts, observing respectable behavior towards life, and maintaining harmonious relations with other people. The nominated area provides a complete representation of how the living traditions of keeping the land guide Anishinaabe perception and use of the Pimakyo-Wingake cultural landscape. The waterways that cut through the forest are their lifeblood in allowing fishing, hunting, trapping, and also some cultivation along the banks. Mnemonic narratives connected with the travel routes persist and are beginning to be documented. Along the shores, wild rice has been intentionally managed to increase its productivity, and archaeological evidence reveals that this practice has persisted for some 1,200 years. The forest is the wider canvas of the Anishinaabe's activities, its resources used judiciously for medicine and food, with tree bark historically provided covering for tents and canoes. Hunting, trapping, as well as fishing are at the heart of the Anishinaabe's relationship with the land, but in a way that ensures continuity. The forest is nurtured through wildfires to encourage new grass for ducks that are hunted for food. Collaborative research between the community and archaeologists since 2003 has helped to document hunting sites used within living memory for temporary habitation and harvesting activities. This documentation covers sites that are both used and unused, and some of the abandoned sites have been dated to the Middle Woodland period up to 1,200 years before the Christian era. The Anishinaabe's worldview of a symbiotic relationship between people and nature attributes animacy to objects in the natural world, giving meaning to people's existence in this environment over time and through the seasons. The creator, Manitou, has a central place. 2 kinds of spirit beings are repeatedly referred to: the Little Rock people and thunderbirds, powerful helpers and carers for the land. The thunderbirds are said to nest in rock formations created at a time when plants still did not exist, and their stone nests are respected. Pictographs are seen to be closely related to these sacred sites. All the maps of different aspects of the land are being drawn together to provide an Anishinaabe's worldview of their landscape. Elders and others with land-based knowledge are especially esteemed for their role in guiding and decision-making in personal, family, and community matters related to use of the land, and for their role in ensuring continuity of keeping the land. ICOMOS considers that the comparative analysis justifies this property being inscribed for the water-based traditional practices of the Anishinaabe, but that this nomination should not be considered as representing the cultural landscapes of the wider American subarctic region. Outstanding Universal is satisfied, as are criteria 3 and 6, and the conditions of integrity and authenticity are also satisfied, but will need to be actively maintained. The boundaries are adequate. Protection needs to be strengthened, in our view, to ensure hydroelectric lines do not cross the property. Conservation is satisfactory, but there needs to be further development of the management plan to allow it to address specific overarching themes, such as socio-economic development, visitor management, and interpretation. In conclusion, Madam Chair, ICOMOS recommends that Pimachuin-Aki, Canada, be inscribed on the World Heritage List as a cultural landscape on the basis of criteria 3 and 6. We have additional recommendations that are set out in the working documents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. IUCN. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. IUCN's evaluation of Pimachuin-Aki is on page 65 of the English version of the IUCN evaluation report and page 67 of the French version. Next slide, please. Pimachuin-Aki was nominated as a mixed site under criteria 5 and 9 in 2012. The World Heritage Committee deferred the nomination in 2013 to allow the state party to address issues concerning boundaries and the conceptual framing of the property's OUV. A joint ICOMOS and IUCN advisory mission visited the property in October of 2013, and the property was renominated in 2015 under natural criteria 9 and with changed cultural criteria 3 and 6. Both advisory bodies recommended inscription in 2016. The state party, however, advised the World Heritage Committee of concerns regarding governance and relationships within the Pimachuin-Aki Corporation, and the committee referred the nomination in decision 40-COM 8B18 to allow more time to address these concerns. The state party then submitted a new full nomination in 2017, which is now before the committee. Next slide, please. Pimachuin-Aki, which means the land that gives life, encompasses just over 2,900,000 hectares in the Canadian Boreal Shield and includes the ancestral lands of 4 First Nations, Poplar River, Pawangasi, Bloodvein River, and Little Grand Rapids, as well as 3 provincial protected areas, namely Woodland Caribou and Atikaki Provincial Parks, along with Eagle Snowshoe Conservation Reserve. A buffer zone of about 3,600,000 hectares has been defined. Changes to the property's boundaries have reduced the originally nominated area by 436,000 hectares, or about 13%, and the buffer zone by 448,000 hectares, or about 12%. However, the nominated property continues to support a vast landscape which not only has very high ecological integrity, but which has never been subject to industrial development, a combination that is becoming increasingly rare globally. Indeed, Pimachuin-Aki is the most complete and largest example of North American Boreal Shield and constitutes the largest network of contiguous Boreal Shield protected areas. If inscribed, it would become one of the 20 largest World Heritage Sites by area. Next slide, please. Pimachuin-Aki protects an exceptional diversity of terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems, including needle-leaf forest, wetland, rockland, and mixed wetland rockland, as well as many lakes and free-flowing rivers. As a result of its ecological integrity, the nominated property fully supports key ecological processes of the boreal forest, including fire regimes, nutrient flow, species movements, predator-prey relationships, hydrological dynamics, and evolutionary processes. Pimachuin-Aki's remarkable size, integrity, and ecosystem diversity also ensure that the full range of characteristic boreal species, including indicator species for primary forest health, are present. including woodland caribou, wolf, wolverine, moose, lake sturgeon, leopard frog, loon, and Canada warbler. Pamachuanaki also retains its full floral diversity. Next slide, please. Traditional use by Anishinaabe First Nations, including fishing, hunting, and trapping, is an integral part of the boreal ecosystems in Pamachuanaki, and the landscape reflects a 6,000-year history of the relationship between people and landscape. The Anishinaabe First Nations consider their culture to be inseparable from nature and the land, a cultural outlook that has fundamentally shaped their belief systems and which underpins the nomination. Next slide, please. First Nations have played the leading role in defining the approach to protection and management of Pamachuanaki. Protection and management of the property are achieved through Anishinaabe customary governance, contemporary provincial government law and policy, and cooperation among the 4 First Nations and 2 provincial government partners via the Pamachuanaki Corporation. The nominated property is governed through an accord signed by the 4 nominating First Nations, and which reinforces the long-standing stewardship approach that cares for the land for future generations. A memorandum of agreement between the provincial governments of Manitoba and Ontario provides assurances about protection and management of the property and establishes a strong partnership. The Pamachuanaki partners share a commitment to safeguard the outstanding universal value of Pamachuanaki. Next slide, please. IUCN considers that this nomination is a landmark for properties nominated through the leadership and commitment of Indigenous peoples, and a model for future nominations which seek to capture the indissoluble links between nature and culture, and in particular between cultural integrity and ecological integrity in large landscapes. Next slide, please. In summary, IUCN recommends inscription of Pamachuanaki under Natural Criterion 9 on the basis of the property's large intact landscape, the clear commitment of all partners to the long-term protection of this exemplary property, and the effective protection and governance framework which is in place. The draft decision is set out on page 9 of both the English and French versions of Working Document 8B. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Since this decision is for inscription, please, I argue that to just reduce the speed, because we have more, maybe 7 or 8 sites. So, Australia, I give you the floor, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're very pleased to go first in speaking to this one. We greatly welcome the inscription of the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe under Criterion 3, Criterion 6 and Criterion 9. This has been a long journey from the referral of this nomination in 2013, and we commend the Anishinaabe communities and the State Party of Canada in finalising the nomination and bringing it back to us. The detailed, comprehensive and very beautiful nomination dossier, framed by the knowledge and the language of the Anishinaabe and the keeping of their land through traditional land and resource management practices, is exemplary and is a further milestone in the recognition of the outstanding cultural values of First Nation communities. These values underpin the connection of First Nations to their territories and sustain the protection and management of the extraordinary natural values of this very large landscape, and they support the ecosystems recognised under Criterion 9. Congratulations to all who have worked so hard on this nomination, and we'd also just like to note that today is Canada Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Spain, you have the floor.
Sí, gracias, Presidenta. Voy a ser muy breve, pero nuestra delegación no podía por menos que intervenir en esta candidatura paradigmática. Ha sido una candidatura muy bien valorada por todos nuestros expertos, casi diría que la mejor valorada. Y queríamos dejar constancia de la excepcionalidad de este sitio, tanto por el contenido, que ya ha sido ampliamente comentado por Comus y por UICN, pero también por la forma, ¿no? Este tipo de actitudes que ha manifestado Canadá, con esa retirada cuando tenía un informe para inscribir y, sin embargo, la ha querido mejorar, mejorando la gobernanza con la comunidad del sitio, es algo que queríamos absolutamente destacar y que realmente es lo que nos da legitimidad a esta convención, a este comité, y este tipo de actitudes son las que deberían de prevalecer y ser las no ordinarias y las normales y no las excepcionales. Muchísimas gracias, Presidenta.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
For Hungary and as a site manager of a cultural landscape, also personally for myself, it is a great pleasure to congratulate for the success of this property, where nature and people live and work in hand, and it is the synergy of natural and social processes constitute the outstanding universal value. Pimachovian acquis is an outstanding example of the long-lasting bonds between culture and nature. It is therefore vital that the integrity of customary governance be maintained in order to ensure continuity of the cultural tradition across generations and the continuation of the current high levels of stewardship which are evident within the property. The Hungarian delegation warmly congratulates to the State Party of Canada for the preparation of the excellent nomination file, as well as for the effective protection and integrated management of Pimachovian acquis, and fully supports the inscription of the mixed property on the basis of criteria 3, 6, and 9 on the World Heritage List. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now, Kyrgyzstan, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We congratulate Canada for this exceptional work, and just small correction in the English version, there is a 10th criteria. It should be 9.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie voudrait féliciter l'État partie d'avoir présenté un si beau dossier relatif à un paysage culturel tout à fait remarquable. Nous voudrions aussi saluer l'exemplarité morale dans laquelle cette inscription s'est faite, alors qu'une inscription antérieure aurait été possible, mais sans retrait pour associer davantage les populations locales, a été pour nous la plus belle des réactions, ce qui fait qu'aujourd'hui le dossier est complet de tout point de vue, et nous voudrions saluer et encourager l'État partie à protéger et à promouvoir ce site, et nous en sommes dès à présent certains. Encore une fois, félicitations.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zimbabwe joins others in congratulating Canada for this wonderful inscription of the Pimachovian acquis ancestral lands. This inscription, this property shows the interaction between indigenous people and their environment, and how this relationship has dated over 7,000 years and still continues today. It is an important reminder to us to respect traditional knowledge, traditional governance systems, as they are able to sustain the environment. Well done, Canada, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation also joined others in commending the advisory bodies for a very comprehensive evaluation of the proposed nomination of this property, which is within the North American Boreal Shield, which shows that it has very clear OUVs under the natural criterion 9. The property has an exceptional diversity of terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems. The cultural component of the nomination is justified under criteria 3 and 6, and the conditions of integrity, protection, and management are also strongly reflected in the analysis for both the cultural and natural components. We do appreciate the efforts made by the state party and the advisory bodies towards nomination of this important property that we fully support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Bosnia, please.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Comme tous les autres membres du comité, la Bosnie-Herzégovine voudrait aussi féliciter l'État partie pour leur excellent dossier et souhaiter à ce magnifique site le bienvenu sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Merci.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please. Brazil.
No, China, no. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a country where the native peoples are undeniably protagonists in nature conservancy through their cultural and traditional ways of life, Brazil is very happy to see the nomination of the Pinatuan Aki site in the list. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to the reporter, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We haven't received amendments to this draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I therefore declare draft decision 42, 8B, 11 adopted.
Now we go to Canada.
I can congratulate Canada on your behalf, and I give them the floor. Canada, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Comme c'est la première fois que le Canada prend la parole à cette session, j'aimerais remercier le Royaume du Bahreïn pour son hospitalité. C'est un immense plaisir que le Canada partage ce moment mémorable qui consiste en l'inscription de Pimachewanake sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Il s'agit de la reconnaissance internationale d'un site qui illustre le lien indissociable unissant la culture et la nature pour les peuples autochtones, ainsi que de l'intendance indéfectible de leur territoire traditionnel. I would like to thank the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies who work so closely with Canada and the Pimachewanake Corporation to help advance this complex nomination as part of our shared nature-culture journey within the World Heritage context. I will now turn the floor over to our Pimachewanake colleagues to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ed Hudson. I am a director with the Pimachewanake Corporation and a member of the Poplar River First Nation. On behalf of the Anishinaabe First Nations of Bloodvein River, Little Grand Rapids, Pawangasi, and Poplar River, and the governments of Manitoba and Ontario, I want to say that we were thrilled to join in a family of places that help to recognize and protect the world's precious heritage. Our journey to a World Heritage Site has been rather long. If the Pimachewanake experience contributes in some way to greater use of the World Heritage Convention by Indigenous people, we would feel gratified. I now call upon my friend and colleague, Sofia Rablauskas, to say a few words. Thank you again. Miigwech.
Anin, Chimiigwech diket we kaisin on the man, Kakidage one chiminothek. Miigwechinak, Kakina, Waitanish Napek, Kaije Ayang. Minawa de Gete Zimananik, Kagishimini Gwan Kakunama Gawin. I want to thank you for allowing us to speak. First, I want to acknowledge all our elders for their wisdom, knowledge, guidance, and their direction. Our people have lived and cared for this land for thousands of years. Today, we are still trying to fulfill the responsibility given to us by the Creator to look after this area to ensure life of our children and grandchildren. We strongly believe that nature and culture are inseparable. This nomination describes our cultural tradition of Chikanawenda Mangitakimenan, keeping the land, which reflects our sacred responsibility and spiritual connection to the boreal forest of Pimachewanake, the land that gives life. It also describes the responsibility that each generation has carried to ensure life will continue for generations to come. As Anishinaabe people, we want to leave a lasting legacy to protect and preserve this area for the benefit of the planet. Ake, miigwech.
So our next site will be in Colombia, Shareability National Park. I invite Comus and IUCN to present the nomination, the Comus and IUCN. Thank you. Could you please have the congratulation outside the saal, please, outside the plenary here?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm now presenting ICOMOS evaluation of Shareability National Park, the Maloca of the Jaguar in Colombia. The text of this evaluation can be found on page 36 of the document INF 8B1. Located in the northern western Colombian Amazon, Shareability National Park is the largest protected zone in Colombia. The nominated property covers a surface area over 2.7 million hectares, to which the state party added in 2013 a buffer zone of almost 4 million hectares, giving the nominated property a total surface area of more than 6 million hectares. The natural environment of Shareability National Park is typically Amazonian and extremely rich in terms of biodiversity. But one of the most significant characteristics of the nominated property, perhaps more than its fauna and flora, is the presence of Tepe. A word of indigenous American origin signifying mountain, Tepes are limestone tabletop mountains with vertical and sharply sloping faces, which dominate the Amazonian forest. At the foot of the Tepes, there are more than 75,234 pictographs identified today on the walls of 60 rock shelters of different sizes, dating from 20,000 years BC to the present day. The rock art is of great artistic, technical, and cosmological value, and bears witness to the indigenous communities that have occupied the Amazon for a millennium. The rock art is interpreted as scenes of hunting, battle dances, and ceremony, all of which are linked to the cult of the Jaguar, seen as a symbol of power and fertility. The practices are thought to reflect coherent systems of ancient sacred beliefs, forming the basis and explanations of relations between the cosmos, nature, and man. The property represents one of the rare cases in which nomadic indigenous communities still live there today, voluntarily isolated and without contact with the modern world, and make rock art rock paintings of petroglyphs reflecting ancient rituals with profound cosmological implications. In its evaluation, ICOMOS considered that the comparative analysis justifies inscription of this property on the World Heritage List, that the nominated property meets criteria 3 and the conditions of integrity and authenticity. ICOMOS considers that the boundaries of the nominated property and the buffer zone are adequate, and that the state of conservation of the property is satisfactory. The management system of the property is adequate, but the measures are necessary to consolidate and reinforce research and development of projects to enhance natural and cultural heritage in the buffer zone, as proposed in the management plan. So in conclusion, ICOMOS recommends that Shareability National Park be inscribed on the World Heritage List on the basis of criterion 3, and ICOMOS also make additional recommendations as displayed. Thank you.
Thank you. IUCN, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. IUCN's evaluation of Shareability National Park, the Maloca of the Jaguar, is on page 75 of the English version of the IUCN evaluation report and page 77 of the French version. Shareability National Park, or CNP, is the largest national park in Colombia and very large by global standards at over 2.7 million hectares. CNP is located in the central Colombian Amazon, and its protection is reinforced by the establishment of an extensive buffer zone of almost 4 million hectares. Next slide. The presence of Tepe is one of the most impressive defining features of CNP. Tepes are tabletop mountains found only in the Guyanan Shield, notable for their striking relief and high levels of endemism. The tepes found in CNP, while smaller when compared to others in the Guyana Shield, result nonetheless in dramatic scenery that is reinforced by their remoteness and inaccessibility. A particularly significant value of the property is its high degree of naturalness, which makes it one of the most important wilderness areas in the world. The fauna of CNP is particularly rich in terms of mammals, and the area is considered a key site for the conservation of healthy populations of charismatic and endangered species, including the jaguar, the pink dolphin, the lowland tapir, the brown woolly monkey, and the giant anteater. Despite the fact that limited scientific research has been undertaken in the nominated property, data available shows that over 2,900 species have been recorded. These include globally impressive levels of species richness for vascular plants, mammals, including high levels of bat species, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and butterflies. The number of species, including of endemic species, 21 reported, would most certainly rise as more scientific expeditions are undertaken in the future. The case made in the nomination for justifying the application of the Geological Criterion 8 is based on the argument that CNP has a noteworthy geological history. However, the geology and geomorphological processes occurring in CNP are similar to that existing in the whole Guyana Shield and in other locations, and thus considered to be of national significance in this context. The nominated property is exceptionally large, well-preserved, and is in excellent condition, thus providing adequate refuge for many species and habitats. CNP is listed amongst the most irreplaceable protected areas in the world for the conservation of mammal, bird, and amphibian species, and is located in a unique biogeographical context where evolutionary processes have shaped the high floral and faunal diversity. Voluntarily isolated and uncontacted indigenous peoples live inside the nominated property. The cultural and ethnic integrity of local communities and their rights are protected under Colombia's constitution and related legislation. The buffer zone of the park is made up entirely by 22 indigenous reserves and the Amazon Forest Reserve. These indigenous reserves are under traditional ownership, which centers on protecting cultural and natural values and are similarly covered by Colombian law. The nominated property is owned and managed by the Ministry of the Environment through the Unidad Administrativa Especial del Sistema de Parques Nacionales, with conservation guided by a 2016-2020 management plan. Overall, the management of the property is well organized with good capacity for building and operations. Patrolling and protection activities are also actively supported by the Army, which has played a key role for many years in assisting with the location and eradication of illegal coca plantation inside the property and in a buffer zone. The funding supporting the management of the property results from a combination of financial and human resources provided by the state party and also supported by international projects. IUCN notes that additional financial resources will be needed to cope with future management challenges, for example, linked to tourism development. In summary, IUCN recommends the World Heritage Committee inscribes Chiribikete National Park, the Maloca of the Jaguar, on the World Heritage List under natural criteria 9 and 10, in light of its remarkable levels of biodiversity and ecosystems integrity and the effective protection regime which is in place. The draft decision is set out on page 12 of both the English and French versions of Working Document 8B. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Norway? Norway, you have the floor. Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Norway applauds the State Party of Colombia with its stimulating nomination fulfilling a combination of natural and cultural criteria. The State Party has been rigorous in its efforts to protect biodiversity and its invaluable forests, even through the critical stages of the country's transition to peace. As the State Party has highlighted on several occasions, the Earth's most valuable treasures are not petroleum or gold, it is in biodiversity and in the tropical forests. Stopping deforestation is essential to reach both the Paris Agreement climate change goals and the Sustainable Development Goals. The State Party sends an important signal that forest protection is decisive to reach the climate targets. Norway is proud to support Colombia in building a prosperous and sustainable future that will safeguard its national treasures through the Norwegian Climate and Forest Initiative and strongly encourage other state parties to contribute to the protection of the Amazon forest. Norway also commends the state parties' high political commitment towards protecting indigenous rights, including implementing legal frameworks, strengthening indigenous self-governance of the indigenous territories. Indigenous peoples are critical in protecting natural and cultural heritage and have historically been the forest's best guardians. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Spain, please.
Sí, gracias, presidenta. Y vuelvo a tomar la palabra en el mismo sentido que hizo mi delegación anteriormente con la candidatura de Canadá. Estamos ante una candidatura absolutamente excepcional. No hay más que ver el expediente y, como se dice en español, una imagen vale más que 1000 palabras, ¿no? Las imágenes que hemos tenido oportunidad de observar dan buena cuenta de la magnificencia de este lugar. Así que no nos queda otra cosa que felicitar al Estado parte y, como ha dicho la delegación de Noruega, por esa excelente protección. Pero no solo eso, sino que quiero volver a recalcar, como hemos hecho con Canadá, la excelente actitud del Estado, que cuando tenía un informe de DIFER, que podía haberse discutido y haberse inscrito en el comité, lo que hizo es retirarla para mejorar la candidatura y poderla inscribir en este comité sin ningún tipo de observación. Así que felicitaciones a Colombia, tanto por la forma como por el fondo de esta magnífica candidatura. Gracias, presidenta.
Thank you very much. And now Hungary, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hungary would like to congratulate the State Party for nominating Shareability National Park to the World Heritage List, both on the basis of cultural and natural criteria. The property contains all the elements necessary for the expression of its outstanding universal value and is of an appropriate size for the satisfactory preservation of the conditions of integrity. The nominated property is extremely large and provides space for ongoing natural processes and ecosystems. The rock art sites are authentic in terms of situation and setting, intangible culture, spirit and impression, materials, form and conception. The Hungarian delegation fully supports the inscription of Shareability National Park as a mixed site on the World Heritage List. We wish the State Party a great success with the management of the property on the long term. In addition, the Hungarian delegation wishes all the best for the football team of Colombia during the upcoming days and weeks. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
I wish I could say the same about Mexico, Madam Chair. Brazil believes the Serrania de Chiribiquete is one of the best examples of what one can call a site with outstanding universal values. Under criterion 3, the park is one of the best existing examples of pre-Columbian rock inscriptions in South America and arguably the best such site in the whole Amazon basin, with pictographs as old as 20,000 years. Under criteria 9 and 10, Chiribiquete is one of the most complete and diverse ecotones in the northern portion of our subcontinent, which harbors a unique, varied, and vast endemism with very few other parks that can be a par. The property is well preserved and has integrity of its own natural and cultural integrity. Brazil commends the Colombian government for the protective policies in place and for the safeguarding of the site attributes. Therefore, Brazil is of the opinion that the proposed site is more than fit to be inscribed in the World Heritage List. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie souhaite féliciter l'État partie d'avoir présenté un dossier d'une si grande qualité et d'une très grande beauté. D'ailleurs, nous avons, à étudier le dossier, énormément apprécié toutes ses composantes. Sa valeur exceptionnelle est évidente et patente, et son étendue géographique est impressionnante, ce qui certainement fera l'objet de toutes les mesures attentionnées de l'État partie pour sa préservation et sa protection. En tous les cas, on les félicite et on se félicite aussi de son entrée sur la liste du patrimoine mondial.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Creo que es muy fácil enamorarse de este sitio y comprender el valor universal y excepcional que tiene. Queremos simplemente agradecer una vez más al Estado parte por la capacidad de comprender las recomendaciones de este comité y traernos esta magnífica nominación. Felicidades, Colombia.
Thank you very much. I give the floor to Tanzania. Last one. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Tanzania commend the State Party for the effort to nominate the property, noting its unique ecotonic location associated with an extreme high endemism, which is of particular importance within the South American and the Guyana Shield. The property is also clearly endowed with the culture, values, and criteria 3. Madam Chair, while both cultural and natural component of the nomination of this property are strongly justified, we take note of the potential threat related to the culture, right, and the livelihood of the voluntarily isolated indigenous peoples, which could potentially impact the OUV of the property. In this regard, we encourage the state part of Colombia to strengthen the management condition of the property with respect to this concern. We support the draft decision to inscribe the property in the World Heritage List. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Our reporter, do you have any amendments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I did not receive amendments on this draft decision.
Thank you very much. I therefore declare draft decision 42, Com 8B 12 adopted. On your behalf, I congratulate Colombia and I give them the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Estamos felices. En nombre del Gobierno de Colombia, queremos agradecer al Reino de Bahrain por su hospitalidad y la felicito a usted especialmente por su trabajo para proteger la memoria y la identidad de su pueblo. Agradecemos a la Secretaría, a ICOMOS y a UICN por habernos acompañado en esta nominación. Hemos tenido un diálogo franco, constructivo y enriquecedor. Agradecemos al comité por respaldar esta inscripción que nos enorgullece y nos impone grandes retos como Estado parte de la Convención. Naturaleza y cultura forman una unidad en el Parque Nacional Natural Serranía de Chiribiquete, en el corazón de la Amazonía. Se trata del área de conservación más extensa del país. Asimismo, Chiribiquete es el primer sitio mixto para Colombia y sabemos de los retos que esto implica. Por esta razón, los Ministerios de Ambiente y Cultura hemos trabajado juntos para llegar a este momento, luego de casi 15 años de trabajo con las comunidades indígenas, la academia, otros sectores del gobierno y la colaboración de las comunidades locales de los departamentos de Guaviare y Caquetá de Colombia. Queremos hacer especial reconocimiento al señor presidente Juan Manuel Santos, quien desde el comienzo de su gobierno dio especial importancia a la protección de este sitio en este momento trascendental para la paz y el desarrollo sostenible en Colombia. Estamos aquí las dos instituciones públicas responsables directas de la administración del área, Parques Nacionales Naturales de Colombia y el Instituto Colombiano de Antropología e Historia, por lo que doy la palabra a su director.
Muchísimas gracias. Un saludo especial a todos y un agradecimiento profundo. Quisiera señalar que el Chiribiquete, hoy patrimonio de todos, expresa desde el corazón de la Amazonía la fuerza y la sacralidad de la naturaleza, así como la diversidad y la ancestralidad del conocimiento. A la expresión de agradecimiento a todos los Estados miembros de UNESCO, asociamos el llamado global a la protección de la Amazonía y a la afirmación de garantías para la pervivencia de las comunidades indígenas. Es en el saber de carijonas, huitotos, desanas, nucac y tantos otros pueblos los que permiten con su saber que el espíritu del jaguar y de la anaconda y de la danta sigan siendo una condición de vida. Reafirmamos desde Colombia y con la cercanía fraterna de la región de América Latina y del Caribe el compromiso de cada una de las instituciones implicadas en el resguardo del territorio y del patrimonio cultural. Sabemos que las recomendaciones que nos han hecho marcan una hoja de ruta en la investigación, en la protección y en la gestión, que sin duda acogeremos y aplicaremos dándole credibilidad y coherencia a esta formidable lista. Este expediente, construido en Colombia desde la investigación y el diálogo social, es en sí mismo una apuesta por la paz. Es por eso que ahora tenemos frente a nosotros el desafío de mantener la serranía del Chiribiquete en su condición de patrimonio mundial, con todo y su carácter mítico y sagrado, y con su vocación de ser centro de pensamiento ancestral, casa de los animales y Maloca del Jaguar. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Our next site will be in Mexico, Tijuana, Can, Culucatus Valley. I now invite Comus and IUCN to present the nomination. And before that, I give Mr. Balsamo the floor to introduce the site. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of this nomination, and this notification is to be found on page 10 of both the English and French version of document INF 8B4. Thank you.
Comus, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Tepe-Iquecatlan Valley, originally habitat of Mesoamerica, is a previously referred back nomination, which was first discussed by the World Heritage Committee in 2017, when the committee suggested to reconceptualize the nomination towards a more diversified approach in terms of cultural criteria. It further recommended to augment the comparative analysis in relationship to water management systems, to strengthen management and protection of archaeological remains, to develop a visitor management strategy, and to develop a more inclusive governance models. Tepe-Iquecatlan Valley hosted early semi-settled and later settled communities over the past 14,000 years. The nominated property is composed of 3 component sites: Zapotitlan, Quecatan, San Juan Raya, and Puron, all located in the Tepe-Iquecatlan Valley. The Tepe-Iquecatlan Valley is presented to hold 624 archaeological sites that bear witness to the conversion of nomadic hunter-gatherers to a sedentary lifestyle based on opportunities of irrigation over a course of 12,000 years. Only 22 of the 624 archaeological sites are presented in the nomination dossier. These 22 sites can be split into 3 areas which reflect the beginnings of agriculture, plant domestication, and the development of human settlements, beliefs and rituals, and the intricate water management system infrastructures, which facilitated complex irrigation systems. Irrigation channels, which can be divided into 5 larger irrigation systems, contribute to the most diversified water management system known in the American continent, with 10 types of sites, including wells, dams, canals, rock aqueduct filtration galleries, most of them dating to between 800 and 700 BCE. The Puron Dam complex is the largest water control site in Mesoamerica, and it was built in 4 subsequent stages between 750 BCE and 200 Christian era. It was in use for over 900 years and now remains as a topographic and archaeological reference. The dam was part of the water management system, which reflects aspects of the early evolution of man's relationship to this arid environment over a period of more than 10,000 years and illustrates the process of early plant domestication. Comus considers it unfortunate that so little is documented on the various features and many archaeological sites which present these processes in the valley. While the selection of sites highlighted in the nomination presents selected peeks into a much larger and broader evidence existing. Comus therefore considers that while the justification is likely relevant in theory, the number of documented sites presented does not constitute the critical mass required to underline and illustrate these very important historic phenomena. Therefore, while acknowledging that the Tepe-Kwekatlan Valley presents a complex system of early irrigation and provides evidence to the human advancement towards agriculturalist communities in illustrating one of the earliest examples of plant domestication, Comus continues to recommend better definition and documentation of the property, in particular by means of extensive cultural heritage-focused surveys in the valley, both in and outside the boundaries. Comus hopes that such surveys will allow for the full recognition of all attributes of these Mesoamerican agriculturalist communities. As a result, Comus considers that while for the present selection of sites, none of the criteria have been justified, a further substantiated wider landscape approach might provide the basis for the Tepe-Kwekatlan Valley or parts of the valley to be seen as an outstanding reflection of the emergence of irrigation-based agriculture in Mesoamerica. Once a wider set of attributes is justified by means of further surveys and documentation, the protection and management approaches would need to be expanded and strengthened. In conclusion, therefore, Comus recommends that the nomination should be deferred to allow the state party to consider a revised nomination based on further research and documentation to ensure the full legal protection of cultural heritage elements in the property and finalize management and monitoring arrangements, as well as strengthen human and financial resources in relation to cultural heritage. I'm now passing the floor to IUCN for their report in relation to natural criteria.
Thank you very much. IUCN, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I might just wait for the slide to come up. Okay. IUCN's evaluation of Tepe-Kwekatlan Valley is on page 25 of both the English and French versions of the IUCN evaluation report. IUCN recalls that this property, as originally nominated, was referred back to the state party by the committee in 2017 to address a range of issues. One of the principal concerns relating to natural values was to confirm that the attributes of the argued OUV under Criterion 9 were located inside the boundaries as designed. Next slide, please. The Tepe-Kwekatlan Valley, originary habitat of Mesoamerica, is nominated as a mixed site with a serial configuration of 3 component parts. The property is situated in central southern Mexico within the country's southernmost arid and semi-arid region. As noted through the factual errors process, the areas of the property have now been clarified. Next slide, please. IUCN provided a detailed outline of natural values in its 2017 evaluation. In summary, Tepe-Kwekatlan includes a diverse array of xeric shrublands, tropical deciduous forests, oak and pine forests, as well as vegetation types of smaller extent, such as palm groves or gallery forests. The region is reported as an arid or semi-arid zone with one of the highest levels of biodiversity in North America, and the valley is noted as a global biodiversity hotspot. Tepe-Kwekatlan stands out as remarkable for its species richness and levels of endemism, as well as for the protection of threatened species and its contribution to global agrobiodiversity. Next slide, please. An astonishing 70% of worldwide floral families are represented in the valley by at least one species, and the area is one of the main centers of diversification for the cacti family, which is highly threatened worldwide. Despite human presence, this region reportedly has the highest density of columnar cacti on the planet and presents a unique landscape. Tehuacan-Cuicatlan also exhibits particularly high biodiversity among other plant types, namely the agaves, yuccas, bromeliads, bursera, and oaks. Worldwide, it also hosts one of the highest animal biodiversity levels in a dryland and encompasses over 10% of the global distribution range of 4 amphibian species. It is ranked in the top 0.2% of the most irreplaceable protected areas in the world for the survival of threatened species. Next slide, please. In 2017, IUCN concluded positively on the overall biodiversity richness of this region and the Tehuacan-Cuicatlan Biosphere Reserve. The resubmitted nomination has confirmed that the property as configured includes significant portions of this biodiversity. For example, some 44% of flora within the wider valley and 50% of the species of the Biosphere Reserve, as well as some 99 endemic vertebrate species, are found inside the property as nominated. Whilst there are gaps in the knowledge base, and it appears clear that other areas outside the nominated area likely contain high areas of conservation value, the state party has provided convincing evidence that Tehuacan-Cuicatlan includes impressive and globally significant biodiversity values. IUCN again reiterates the potential for this property to meet criterion 9 on the basis of its globally important ecosystem values. Next slide, please. In general, an effective and well-established management system is in place for the natural values of the Biosphere Reserve through the National Commission of Natural Protected Areas. Initiatives are being progressively introduced to better integrate natural and cultural heritage management. Various new positive developments are also documented with respect to the Committee's request encouraging improved participatory governance and regional economic development. More detailed maps provided by the State Party clarify the overlay between the zoning system of the Biosphere Reserve and the nominated property. This remains complex and potentially confusing, however, it appears to represent an adequate management regime for the mixed property. Next slide, please. So in summary, IUCN considers that the nominated property meets criterion 10 on the basis of confirmed biodiversity values within the site and a range of improvements to participatory governance and institutional coordination for the management of natural and cultural heritage. As reflected in the draft decision before the committee, IUCN encourages the State Party to consider at some future time renominating the property also under criterion 9. Madam Chair, the draft decision is set out on page 2 of both the English and French versions of Working Document 8B Add. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments? Cuba, please.
Gracias, señora presidenta. La nominación presentada por México es un ejemplo de conjunción de valores naturales y culturales que pocas veces tenemos la posibilidad de analizar. Y es una respuesta clara a la estrategia global de la Convención en el sentido de reconocer un enfoque integral que tiene su expresión en los bienes mixtos. El Valle de Tehuacán-Cuicatlan, hábitat originario de Mesoamérica, es un aporte al reconocimiento de los procesos de adaptación humana a particulares condiciones físico-ambientales, portadoras por sí mismos de valores excepcionales que se manifiestan en su alta biodiversidad y endemismo de especies. En ese contexto, florecieron civilizaciones que por siglos han sedimentado una cultura que abarca largos periodos de evolución. El bien es un testimonio de los procesos de manejo de la agricultura en sus estadios más primarios y particularmente del cultivo del maíz, elemento fundamental de las culturas mesoamericanas, y del dominio de técnicas de almacenamiento y uso de agua. El conjunto de evidencias arqueológicas ejemplarmente estudiadas y documentadas muestran que estamos en presencia de un conjunto de elementos excepcionales que testimonian estadios fundamentales de la historia humana y que han llegado a nuestros días con un alto grado de autenticidad en un contexto natural también relevante. Cuba felicita al Estado parte por esta importante nominación y apoya su inscripción por los criterios 4 y 10, como se reconoce en la enmienda presentada por el Reino de España. Muchas gracias.
Now I have in front of me 7 speakers, and we don't have time, huh? So we will close the list, and we will complete this file today before we go. So Spain now. Spain, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Efectivamente, bueno, creemos que esta región, el valle de Tehuacán, Cuicatlán, es como hábitat originario de Mesoamérica y que subió una zona árida y semiárida con mayor diversidad en el continente americano. Ha quedado bastante claro que cumple el criterio 10 por parte de la IUCN. Respecto al aspecto cultural, nosotros consideramos que lo natural no se explica sin lo cultural en esta candidatura y tampoco lo cultural se puede explicar sin el aspecto natural. Las condiciones áridas del sitio promovieron la innovación y la creatividad del hombre, dando origen a grandes avances tecnológicos en la historia humana en ese ámbito geográfico, como la domesticación de plantas autóctonas, la realización de pozos, acueductos, terrazas, explotaciones salineras y presas, y así como innovaciones que llevaron a la industria de la sal y de la cerámica, que fueron esenciales para la organización y complejidad de estas primeras civilizaciones. Esto es un aspecto cultural que se da dentro de ese entorno natural, y entiendo que ambas cosas se complementan. Luego debemos ser efectivamente consecuentes con esa animación que hacemos a los Estados partes para que presenten bienes mixtos, y creemos que este es un gran ejemplo y que el país parte ha suplido las observaciones que el año pasado se realizaron con esta candidatura, completando toda la información, y consideramos la delegación del Reino de España acreditando fehacientemente el criterio 4 para poder inscribirlos plenamente como un bien mixto en la lista de Patrimonio Mundial. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Graças, senhora presidenta. Primeiramente, quero agradecer a Comus por o informe e ao Estado parte de México por apresentar essa nominação, que juntamente com a de Colômbia, que acabamos de examinar, são as únicas de nossa região de América Latina e Caribe em esta sessão do comitê. Como presidenta do Instituto do Patrimônio Histórico e Artístico Nacional do Brasil, me limitarei a tratar os aspectos culturais do bem. O Vale de Tehuacán, Cuicatlán, está é o núcleo interno de Mesoamérica, em lá que a interação temprana entre o homem e a natureza propiciou a criação de extensos e tempranos sistemas hídricos que ajudaram a apoiar o desenvolvimento da agricultura e as comunidades assentadas. Brasil considera que os poços de captação de água, as represas, os canais, os aquedutos, as galerias de filtração, etc., ilustram uma tipologia excepcionalmente temprana de um sistema de gestão hídrica pré-colonial mesoamericano que atuou como condição significativa para o cultivo de plantas e, por lo tanto, a sobrevivência dos assentamentos humanos. Esses sistemas de gestão de água representam, em nossa visão, um exemplo sobressalente de um tipo de conjunto tecnológico que ilustra uma importante etapa na ocupação humana de nosso continente e, por isso, justifica a inscrição do bem barro ao critério 4. Brasil, senhora presidenta, apoia e se subscreve ao projeto de decisão apresentado por Espanha. Por fim, eu desejo a México suerte em o jogo de amanhã com o Brasil em o Mundial da Rússia. Muitas graças.
Thank you very much. I find that you have a consensus in the saal, and in front of me 8 speakers. Would you like, with your permission, to go to the reporter and adopt today, or wait to speak, that you speak all the 8 tomorrow and we continue? Can we adopt today? Yes? Yes. Please, the reporter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we have heard, I received an amendment that was presented by Spain and Guatemala, and we have heard support for this amendment by the previous speakers. Whereas the original draft decision contained 2 sets of proposals, one inscription based on criterion 10, and another one that would have deferred the examination of the nomination, as this is a mixed site, and the evaluation was conducted by 2 advisory bodies. The amendment that we have received would now inscribe the property on the World Heritage List on the basis of criterion 4 and 10. And as such, we see in the revised text a new identification of criteria under which the property should be inscribed, as well as a statement of integrity and a new statement on the condition of authenticity. And finally, we can see slight amendments in paragraph 5, and we can see the proposal to delete parts of paragraph 8 and 9. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection?
Norway.
Norway? Please.
Sorry for taking the floor. Just a very quick question. I'm not fully convinced that we've had a proper discussion on the cultural criteria, so we do find it a bit challenging to make this decision on the spot this fast. We don't want to interrupt the proceedings here, but we do find it difficult. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Yes, is there any objection related to the criteria, proposed criteria? Yes? Do you have any objection?
Kuwait.
Kuwait?
I mean, as I understood from our delegation from Norway, the decision has been taken too quick. You want to, postpone it until more discussion on it. That's what I understood from the comment from the delegation of Norway. If that's the case, we agree with them.
Okay, so we will adjourn until tomorrow, and we continue the list of the speakers, and then we adopt. Thank you very much. Now we have announcement before we close. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are two side events at the premises here tonight. At 6 p.m., you have the Canada's Indigenous Heritage, organized by Park Canada in the main lobby of the UNESCO Village. And also at 6 o'clock, it's now 6:10, but they'll probably start immediately right now, the African Liberation Heritage and World Heritage, followed by the Nelson Mandela Centenary Celebration Cocktail and Concert. That would take place at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in the Al Noor Ballroom and is organized by the National Heritage Council of South Africa. We have one more special announcement for the states parties of the Arab region. There will be a technical meeting on the third cycle of the periodic reporting exercise for the Arab states region, held in the premises of the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage. And this concerns only Arab states delegations. Please note that transportation will be provided from the venue, in front of the venue, and buses will depart at 6:30, and there will be transport back to your hotels. That concerns the Arab states delegations. Thank you all, and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.